Can y'all hear me now? All right, there we go. I think one of these days we'll figure it out when the underwear gnomes quit messing with us. So, okay, so folks, here's what's happening. There's a bunch of stuff going on in the world today, obviously, and bunch of stuff going on in this cryptid paranormal field. Um, so, Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com, right above my head there. And then right over here, patreon.com/prtpodcast. Some of you guys have already chosen to go to the $40 tier. That's greatly appreciated. It is a bigger swag. Now, each time you move from one tier to the next, though, you just get the swag items that they would normally get. We send those out to you. Here's what's happening. Here's an update on that. On the well, let me wait till a few more people get in the chat, and then we'll talk about that. I wanted to make sure that you guys understood the Patreon, what's going on, because some people are like, oh, Patreon, they haven't sent me my stuff, whatever. There's a few people, man, it's probably about half a dozen who haven't gotten their things. If you're one of those people, just be patient because we just got the shirts and they weren't all correct. We had some sizes and not others. And so we had to go back through. And so we've been having to do some inventory, and actually Tony sitting across from me. You want to say hello?
Hey everybody, how you guys doing tonight?
He was with me, and we went and got the shirts, but we only have one kind. One kind of shirt. Is that correct? We only have one kind, right?
Well, we have one design for one type of color. We're supposed to have both.
And so we wanted there to be a little bit of a variety, and so we put in the order for the rest, and those are going to be ready in early August, and those are for the conference. But if you're a Patreon member, then obviously you're a supporter of the show. You're very special. We're trying to help you, and we're not giving extra content for that because there are people who can't afford to help, and I understand that they can't. Thank you for the donations, Mike Taylor. Appreciate it. Mike, Susie Jago, appreciate that. So those people, because they can't afford it, I didn't want people to have to pay for content. That was the main thing that we decided against it. It was ultimately a group decision. So yeah, Andrew says a medium or a large. Yeah, I was just talking to you, Andrew, through Messenger. Yeah, we'll get that to you. Send it to me on the Patreon if you could, Andrew, because I need to keep track of everybody on Patreon. I know that Dale, and you know who you are, Dale. I have to get a shirt for you. That's the problem, was the bigger sizes didn't come in. So we had to go, and then there was kind of a mix-up. So we'll get it all sorted out. But I think there's at least half a dozen people right now that are waiting for their stuff. Everybody else has been sent their stuff, and some people's stuff came back. Can't remember the one guy's name. Do we still have his package? I think it's in the next room.
Oh, yeah.
Pete something. He's got an Italian last name. I know that. I don't. No, that's Sonia Keys, and hers got returned too because the addresses weren't correct. I gave the address like it was sent to me. I put the address in. We've sent, as of this point, hundreds of people have received stuff from us over the last few years. So, pretty good about just putting in the address that was given to me. Those are the two that have been returned. I don't know what's going on with that. But I don't want to take up too much time. We got a lot to talk about. Tonight, we're going to tell stories because my guest had a very unfortunate accident. William Bedard, thank you for that donation. It says, great to see everyone. Yes, it is. Please pray for Kirk Reed. Kirk Reed from Abnormal Investigations got hit in the face with a wrench and unfortunately lost a couple teeth. Please pray for him. It was a horrible thing that happened to him. So I told him, I was like, oh, so you're going to be a big baby, Kirk? You can't show up at the show because you lost some teeth? Whoopie-doo, man. Okay? It's not like your head, got cut off or something, you were unalived. I'm playing, Kirk. You know I'm joking with you, man.
So your health is more important than PRT, huh?
So Barton is very specific. He's not having a good time. Send Loki to kill me. Conference is that bad? So I don't know. So pray for Barton. He's going through a tough time over there. So, folks, Kirk Reed, please say prayers for him, and also Cindy Bueno, good break. Her husband's in the hospital. Pray for him, please. So a bunch of stuff going on, but here's the thing, folks. I don't want to take up a lot of your time because I have a lot to talk about. These are stories we're going to get started here, but I'm going to let a few people get in the chat here and let's get it filled up, and then we will get started on the telling of the stories. The other day, I was reviewing the last episode that we had released, which was, I believe, on Sunday, and somebody felt it important that they announced that they were leaving because of drama. Okay, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Okay, I'm not bringing it. I have no interest in it. I'm not trying to make it be a thing or whatever. But I get tired of 24/7 nonsense attacks, and you read them and you blow them off. You read them, you blow them off. You read them, you blow them off, and it gets to the point where you just like it becomes draining, and it's just like I don't want to read how much I suck. I don't want to read how much you hate me, but by doing that, by saying, "Oh well, I'm going to leave" or whatever, you're just taking that much more energy. Just excuse if you really. If you have any, decent bone in your body, just bail, just go. Why do you have to announce it and try to bring everybody else down and cause the drama? Because that in and of itself is drama causing. That's just drama fuel, and we don't need it. If you don't like it, just go. If you're so unhappy and we're such poo-poo caca heads, take your leave. Please. I mean, don't stick around somewhere that you're not happy. You don't have to announce it either. I mean, you don't have to send me a nasty message telling me how much you hate me. Just go. I mean, obviously you want me to know. You want to get some sort of energy from me. You want me to know that I'm a horrible bad guy, a giant poop caca head who deserves the worst level of hell. I got like 20 messages from this one guy just calling me a fake Christian and saying that I'm a liar, that I hang out with some guy who he claims is a neo-Nazi. Am I right, Anthony?
Yeah, which is kind of strange if you look at me and Tony.
I'm baffled by that, and the guy was just like, he just went on and on and on, and no matter how much and then you block them, and then they find another way to you, and you're just like, how do these people do this? I don't get it. I don't know how they have so much time, so much energy. Just if it's one of those things where you just feel like you have to voice it, then just you can go ahead and message me if you have to. But I'm already like not reading a lot of these messages just because I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it, and the bigger we get, the more it's going to be a problem. But I do care about humanity, and I care about people, and I do the best I can as a person. But I get really tired of defending myself. They put these people up on a pedestal who could give a crap about you. They literally, it's human nature. It just seems to be that way. They adore people who just despise them or use them or don't give a crap about them. Or they're flatterers. They're just frauds. But then somebody who genuinely gives a crap and tries to do the best by you and give you, their best, and then you just take a crap all over them. I don't understand that kind of, and I'm not saying everybody in the chat. I'm talking about these people who do this. So it does put you in a foul mood, and it is harder and harder to get up and get going. What happens though? Eventually, it's like if you continue to take the grief, they're trying to wear me down to eventually to where I just give up, because that's the whole point. But if you are a fan of the show and you do like us and you like the show, you get upset with me about something. I'm not perfect. Okay. Don't add to my stress by complaining and whatever, you know, especially if somebody were to give you something, why do you feel the need to complain about it? I can't understand that. I had somebody send the book back that I gave them because they said they don't read. And this isn't the first time somebody has told me that they don't like books. And then another person went and this happened to me in Barton. They sold a book that I gave them, Barton Nunley's book. They sold it online, and another fan bought it. I thought that was pretty shiesty. You know, it gets to the point where you're just like, you know, you're just so, you know, sometimes it's hard to keep going. But then, you know, you haters, you got to know one thing. Whenever I feel like quitting, knowing that you're out there and you're still hating me actually gives me fuel to keep going. So the more you throw at me, yeah, it's exhausting and it's tiring, but it's nothing I haven't faced before in my life. I've fought a lot of battles in my life. And one thing you're not going to do is run me off. Because if nothing else, I'm going to stick around just to annoy you. That's like incentive for me. So, you know, but if you care about us and you're on our side, think about what you say to me before you're going to say it. And then, because when I respond, you may not like, you know, what I say. And I don't want to be on the bad end of somebody's anger. Who does? You know? But I mean, I guess some people do. They thrive on that. They like it. I'm wearing my new hat from Larry Fisher and Sons Roofing. He's my sponsor, one of my sponsors. I give people plugs all the time, and they give me discounts and products and things like that. I don't ask for money much. I don't really, you know, I give plugs to friends, and they'll give me a discount or they'll throw me something. Like my friend who owns the Perfume Galaxy at Lakeline Mall. I'm going to give him a plug because he's always given us. He gave my wife a free bottle of perfume the other day. It was pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Alum. And I want to thank my friends at QT Jewelry and also my friends at Jewel City. Check those guys out. They're really good. And then our friend Yvonne from TFN, Total Fitness Nutrition.
Awesome.
She's always giving us free stuff and giving us whatever. Is it Austin Cell Repair? That's Phil Backlar, whose story is in my book. And, you know, all the different people. Go grab a turkey leg if you're in town at our Ashes Bar Spinners. And these people are paying me. You know, they don't pay me. I just do it because, you know, there's an exchange there. They tell people about my show and put my business cards up or whatever, and they're very nice people. Small businesses, I support small businesses because I'm a small business owner. So if you're in Austin or if you're coming to Austin, feel free to message me and ask me, and I'll send you a list of places that I like to eat at. Most of them are relatively healthy. Most of them are nutritious places. William, thank you for that donation. It says the fact this bothers you shows how, because I'm not wearing my glasses.
So the fact this bothers you shows how big your heart is. You're a good man, Josh.
Thank you, William. I think you're a good man too. I think you appreciate you for donating and everything else. And you're very supportive. That's the thing. I want people to know, and not, you know, oh, Josh Turner's a good guy. I'm not saying it bothers me. Only thing that bothers me is people that I know are true fans and listeners of the show. It's when they come at me after you've been on my boat with me for 3 years, 4 years, whatever, and then you decide that you're going to jump ship because someone says they don't like me. I mean, that is the only thing that hurts. These other people that I don't know will come out of left field and say some crap. I don't give a crap about what you have to say. You're the ones that keep me going. So if you want me to leave, then please be quiet. But if you want me to stay, keep talking. We sat there and had a meeting, and I was like, you know what? I'm not quitting anything. Because these people made me so angry, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stick around. I could literally give everybody $1 million, and people would say, oh, well, he didn't give $2 million. It's just the truth. You don't like me, you don't like me. I'm not your cup of tea. But some people, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe you should go and listen to someone else who talks really slow and uses small 2-syllable words. I don't know. But if you're on this train and you want to be a part of it, then by all means, let's go. What I want to tell you tonight, folks, I have stories tonight. And I was really bummed to hear about Kirk. I like Kirk. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for years. Him and Mike do a good job over at Abnormal Investigations. And pray for Mike too. Mike's had a few issues, just he doesn't talk about it or advertise it, but pray for him too. Everybody needs some help, some prayer sometime. So let's pray for each other, okay? Here's what I'm going to tell you. I got some stories. I got a couple Dogman stories. I got one that I was going to say for Sunday, but I have a guest coming on Sunday who couldn't make it tonight because he had prior plans, but he was like, dude, I would love to, but I'd come on Sunday. And I was going to have him come at the end of August. And because he got it all booked up until the end of August, but I'm going to bump him up now because, he's whatever, because I just talked to him. He's got a show. And we'll talk to him, but that'll be on Sunday. But tonight, I'm excited because I'm going to tell you several stories. Andrew Valdez, thank you for that donation. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight, I got a reptilian story. I got a couple ghost stories. I got a couple Dogman stories always in the chamber. I get those constantly. I got a really good one. And then I got a guy I'm waiting to give me the rest of it. Me and Anthony, we were at the gym, the two African-American guys. And they gave us a crazy Bigfoot story, man, from when they were kids. And I'm waiting for the guy to type it all out and send me the rest of it. I'd love to just tell you right now, but it goes in time. It's from Alabama. And it's funny because we were just talking to another lady from Alabama after we had just talked to Bettina, who's from Alabama. And I'm thinking, dang, Alabama's got a lot of Bigfoot going on. So it's Alabama Bigfoot. And it's just the last couple of weeks I've just been bombarded with it. It's weird how that happens. And then I got two stories that are very similar. One is outside of not Lubbock, Abilene, Texas. Pretty weird story. And then I got one that's from Iowa. Now this person, for whatever reason, didn't give us a name, and they didn't say anything other than they were a farmer from Iowa. So I can't give you a name or even a town or where it's from. And that's fine. I don't like people to go out and mess with people and go mess around with this person. It is a guy, and he said his wife is they are very religious, but his wife did not want him to tell that story. Now, some people don't like that because they feel like something's going to happen. Like if they talk about this stuff, and Tony, you know this, in the Vietnamese culture, and Anthony, in the Mexican culture, we are superstitious at times, and they Latino community in particular is like, don't talk about it. You bring it up. Something happens. Oh, look, you made the Kokoi come because you talked about it. Be real quiet about it because then the Kokoi can't hear you. Look, dude, I'm not one of those people. I'm over here talking about it all the time. But people, and they are this way. Now, this guy, I believe he's a Caucasian male, but he was very adamant that he didn't want to talk about it on the air. And he was like, you can tell my story, but he didn't want to give a name or where he was from. And that's fine. But it is a creepy story. And the way he wrote it, and he's like, I promise you this is real. This really happened, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't sound, the way he wrote it didn't sound like he was trying to sensationalize anything. He's just telling you what happened. And so I thought, wow, this is a pretty cool story. I did message him back, and then we kind of exchanged some information. And but people ask me all the time, they're like, what do you think this is? And what can I do? I can refer you to books. I can refer you to other people. But ultimately, it's your choice what you decide to do. And I'm really not qualified to give advice on how you should proceed because everybody's case is different. And I'm also never going to tell you that I'm your therapist and I'm over here trying to heal you because I have not qualified to do that either. I'm not going to tell you, hey, you're my best friend and whatever, because I don't know you like that. But I do have compassion and I do care and I do feel for these people. And I do think that these people need prayer. Anybody who's suffering or going through this stuff, the only thing we really can do is have we can empathize and we can pray for them. And now some things happen, and for those people who lose pets and things like that, my sympathies are with them. I feel terrible because it does happen. But we got Bigfoot, some really creepy Bigfoot stories, and then we got some really good. Now I do have a feel-good Dogman / Bigfoot story. I'm not real sure how I feel about that one, and people have said before, well, why don't you tell? And I was literally on the phone with Sibylla Irwin earlier this week. She did the artwork for my Dogman book, and we were talking, and we were talking about the how prevalent it is when someone has a good feel-good Bigfoot or Dogman story. It's not really that prevalent. I don't, and people will say, well, that's because you don't take whatever. No, I don't get them. I just don't get many of them. Benign, yeah, but are they like touchy-feely Bigfoot good? Yeah, it touches my heart type stories. Not really, but this one was not so much Bigfoot. I've got 2 or 3 that I could tell you, but this one was a really I guess heartwarming Dogman story. Very odd. This is very odd. And now people can tell me what they think in the comments here. I've never gotten one from a guy. Never. I've never gotten a heartwarming Dogman story from a guy. I've gotten several from females, and I don't know why that is. Now, people can give me their thoughts on that, why they think that is. Maybe they're less threatening. I don't know. I've got a couple that were pretty credible that I think that maybe they were pretty obviously something happened. Couple that I'm not real sure about. I can only, and me and Ken were talking about this a couple days ago. He's like, really, there's nothing we can do. All we can do is take the word of the witness. I mean, there's nothing else we can do. I can tell you that this, I believe that this happened and I believe it's real. But at the end of the day, ultimately, it's up to you, the listener, to make that decision. I can't make that decision for you. And yes, please pray for Gary's aunt, Scorpion's aunt. She had a stroke. Please, folks, prayers. And so at the end of the day, it's up to you. It's ultimately your choice. So all I can do is tell you. So if you want to hear the heartfelt Dogman story, I can tell you. It's one of them. Another one I have involves water, it's a really weird story. I think I touched upon this on one of the previous episodes or maybe one of the podcast episodes, but I'm not real sure, what it is or what it was. It's, I don't know. So we got the Bigfoot stories, we got the Dogman stories, we got some ghost stories, and I got a Goatman story. What do you guys want now? We can take a quick vote here, and we're going to tell a bunch of stories. It's just how do we get started? That's what we need to know here. The water Dogman story, which was weird, and then like I said, we got the heartfelt story. I got a couple funny ones that are kind of funny.
I have a story of me going to HEB, so I guess I could tell that if they really don't want any of it.
All right. Anyway,
probably don't even know what HEB is.
No, that's true.
So it's whatever you guys want. I mean, just let me know here in the comments and we'll get started. Otherwise, I'm just going to pick something. I'm going to pick it at random. Water story. Goatman. What are we seeing mostly here? Rake. Actually, I do have a rake story too. I got a rake story that's really creepy, and that one actually scares me even more than any of the others. And I can tell you why, but it's crazy. Ghost story, Goatman, weird water, Dogman. They're all kind of even here. What do we got? Tell any story, please. Savage Granny. Here's that Grammy. What is that? Grammy or
Grammy?
Grammy. They all sound good. Let's dig in. Rake. HEB is short for. You're right. Miguel, I don't think I saw that picture, man. I wasn't really on Instagram much, though. It says any werewolf story from New Mexico. Matt Acosta. Let me see. No, Sedona would be Arizona. Albuquerque, but no, wait, that's not a Dogman. I had one. Hold on. I had one from New Mexico. Let me look this up real quick, dude, because I might have one from New Mexico. Mm-hmm. 1 second. Okay, that's not it. I don't know why this thing is doing that. There it goes. See where it's at. Trying to see. Well, yeah, it's close.
Thank you for that 20, Michael DePaul.
This was in Torrance County, so that's adjacent to Albuquerque. That's okay. Trying to see here.
Yeah, I remember the picture. Miguel.
Yeah, this one happened in Torrance County. Yep. Okay. Yeah. There's a place called Willard, and that's where this story happened. I was trying to remember the name of the town. It was in Torrance County. Michael DePaul, and this one wasn't. I wasn't even planning on telling this one, but somebody asked, and thank you for the donations. I appreciate it. He says I vote the Loch Ness monster again. I mentioned the Loch Ness monster on the first episode we ever did, and then we never did really discuss the Loch Ness monster. I personally have my own theories about it, what it could be. I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of theories about what it is. I'll say something about the Loch Ness monster, and then I'll go back to the story in New Mexico. There were some guys who conjured magic, okay? And I know some people probably know who I'm talking about, the guy who started a big religion, somethingology. I don't even want to say his name because those people were rabidly insane with their whatever. And he hung out with a guy named Jack Parsons, and Jack Parsons was good friends with Aleister Crowley. And they actually did a ceremony at the edges of the water of Loch Ness. Now, you can go look this stuff up. It's pretty crazy. And a lot of people say that they conjured this creature. Now, there were stories going back way before their time, but who knows? Maybe it was gone and they opened some sort of portal, because a lot of people believe that they opened portals to another realm that brought UFOs here. Now, this sounds crazy. This isn't me, folks. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you what I've read and what I've, looked up. And these people, they did some crazy stuff. Now, whether or not they conjured up something from Loch Ness, it was something that me and Scott Martis had talked about. He was a Lake Champlain researcher before his untimely death. And Scott was a good friend of mine. He was on the show. We talk about water cryptids for 2 or 3 episodes on the podcast. What's crazy, though, is when you start to look at how, for one thing, Scott started off very like, oh, these are prehistoric creature, throwback, whatever, flesh and blood. And then by the time he was, he had started to kind of do an about face and was like, man, maybe these things have some sort of supernatural quality to them, or maybe they're coming from somewhere else. I don't know. And we did talk one day about these gentlemen and about what happened at Loch Ness. I don't want to get into a whole dissertation. I'd have to do some more research and brush up on it and do some reading. I just going by memory what I read about this, and supposedly they started, like creating wormholes. Some people call them wormholes, portals, whatever, and and opening up our realm to others. Some people claim that they were trying to bring the gods of old across. What that means, anybody's guess. They can say one thing and do another or mean another. who knows who these elder gods are? You know, Cthulhu style Lovecraftian type stuff. It's not and for me to be able to talk about all that right now, I'd have to do a lot more research and just brush up on what I've learned. But I know that they were involved in some pretty weird, esoteric, pretty much evil stuff. And when you do things like that, it upsets a balance that our world, you know, it's set up upon a balance, and it tips it one way or the other. And that's what they were doing. They were very dark, demented people. But there's a lot of people like that, and they would rather just see the world burn than if they're not getting what they want, then the world needs to burn. And I believe that these men were like that. And so, how much they influenced that, the creature and what people see, and whatever, I don't know. But it is interesting. One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, this werewolf thing that happened near Willard, it's a little bitty spot, I believe. I don't think it's a very big town. What do you guys look that up for me? Look up Willard, New Mexico. This happened outside of Willard, New Mexico, not in the town, but in a surrounding area. And the guy his name was Jake, and I guess he lived there back in the late 90s. And they had what they thought was a Bigfoot problem. They did have some livestock that were, one was killed and partially.
Are you looking for the towns around Willard?
Yeah, well, no, just Willard. How big is it?
Oh, how big? Okay, it's pretty small.
It's a tiny, small town, I
Yeah.
think. But they had some problems with some livestock that had been killed, and I just read over this story a couple weeks ago. It's not a real long story, but Matt Costa, thank you for that donation. By the way, Amy Creel, Curtis Turner, Michael DePaul, thank you for those donations. The thing that caught my attention, though, was that this thing was preying upon animals. This guy, I think he said he was like 19 at the time that this happened.
It's about 201 people there.
200 people?
Mhm.
It's a little bitty spot on the road.
Yep.
And this person lived outside of there. I think that he said I think it was his grandfather's property, and the closest town, bigger town, whatever, was that little bitty spot. And anyways, I just remember reading this. We never spoke. I'm going from memory here. But something happened one day. He was out on a four-wheeler, and he was mending a fence, and this thing was laying down in a ditch, like sleeping, along a county road, like a country road. And I believe it was in Torrance County. I believe that's where it was at. And so when he's sitting there in his four-wheeler, he's looking over, and he's like literally like got the gloves on, and he's twisting this barbed wire, and this thing is. The heck are you doing, dude? And this thing is. Does it have a stand? Yeah. Okay. So he sees something moving, like it's breathing, and he's like, "What the heck is that?" And the worst thing, when you're 19, I mean, everybody who's 19, I mean, you do silly things, you do kind of dumb things, and so he bent down, took like a little piece of stick, whatever, threw it, and this thing twitched, and then he thought, "Oh no, there's something 10 feet from me, it looks like a giant coyote." Then he looks at it, gets off his ATV, like he's over there, like because he'd gotten back on it and was scared. Walks back over there, and he's like, "This is a wolf. This thing is huge." Obviously, it was out. It was asleep or something. One thing I remember about this story that stuck in my mind, though, was that he saw what looked like, how you see those darts? It looked like a tranquilizer dart.
Yeah.
It had one on its rump. Like it was sticking out of it. Like somebody tranquilized this thing. And so he kind of drives up, and he's like, "This thing is asleep." And so he's like, "I'm going to head back to the house and get a camera." Now, and I don't know if Jake's his real name. Like I said, I didn't talk to the guy on the phone. I didn't get that opportunity, and I had planned on it. But like stories come in 2 weeks. Anybody knows who sent me a story who I've talked to? I'm sure there's a bunch of you. You know that I tell you, hey, we should talk. It doesn't mean we're going to talk right then. It's when I can get to it, when I can, but I'm so backed up that when I can get to you, I will talk to you. And of course, that's, I appreciate everybody who sends me their stories. Believe me, I hate more than anything when my email and my messenger is filling up and people want to get their story out. Believe me, I want your story. Okay. I just I'm gotta go in order as best as possible. Some people have been waiting 2 years. And that's because it'll fall through the cracks. But you got to remind me if you got a story and you really want to tell it, just remind me, keep telling me. I don't mind if you pester me when it comes to a story. My gosh, that's part of my job. So just keep telling me, hey, look, what about my story? The more you push about that, the more I'm going to pay attention. It's like if you want to get a job. If you go into, a place to Wendy's and you apply for a job and then you just go walk out, drop the application, they're going to be like, whatever. This person's not that interested. But if you keep going back, they're going to pay attention. So do that for me. I'm okay with that. I don't mind you messaging me, whatever, when it comes to your story, because then I'll get to it. William Bedard says, thank you for that donation. He says, your energy jumped back to yourself from low in the intro. Don't even bother with the haters. Do the Mayweather shoulder roll. Tell the stories, and we appreciate you and your team. Yeah, I just feel like there was somebody who had attacked me recently who had been I thought, ride or die listener who was a great person and friend, and they just were all over me based on what somebody said. That kind of stung. That kind of hurt. Otherwise, I don't really care. Like this dude that was crazy calling me, saying I was hanging out with this guy that I never even heard of, and said I was lying about it or whatever. I'm fake Christian, whatever. I don't know this guy. He's a clown. I don't give a crap. He can go jump in Town Lake, which at this point is really polluted and you'll probably get really sick. But I don't care about this guy, and he threatened me too. And I was just like, dude, whatever, But it's people that I actually, give a crap about who I thought were on our team. And then they just tell me, because based on what somebody says. And that's pretty sad. But anyways, other than that, it's not bothering me. So thank you for that donation, Barry. So what happened with this guy on his four-wheeler? He gets a closer look, and he's like, yep, there's a dart. And then he looks on the other side. He's kind of looking over the fence, and he sees there's another one. So this thing was tranked 2, 3, 4 times. He saw these darts in it.
That's telling because if you think about it, nobody just carries a tranquilizer gun around
they
casually.
knew.
Yeah, and your average tranquilizer dart is probably not going to tranquilize something that huge. So they had to have known, I got to carry something special for this, and then put 2 or 3 of them in this thing. Somebody was hunting it.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, but if you look at tiger tranquilizer, like Thorazine, I mean, it's made to trank tigers. How many of those darts do you think it takes to trank a tiger as opposed to a Dogman? I mean, I don't know how comparable they are to that. So when I asked this guy, I messaged him back, and he said he's got a cousin. He said the cousin's name was Robinson. I don't know if that's a real name or not. But the guy, I think he lives in that area still. I don't think he wants to be known as the guy that sees a werewolf, whatever. But his grandfather and his now deceased grandmother had claimed that they saw a Bigfoot, not once, but twice. One of them was trying to carry off a heifer. This is, this stuff's it's crazy. It's like big old bulky creature, And he's looking at the face. When he goes up to the face of it, he's like, dude, this is definitely wolf-like. And the legs were backward bent. It looked like one of the ankles was bloody, like there was something had attacked it or it was messed up. There was something wrong with the ankle. And he said it looked like, and I messaged him back and I said, did it look like it could run or walk? He's like, maybe, but I'm not real sure. And he says, I'm sitting there, he goes, and I realize this thing is out cold. So he's like, I'm out by myself. It's 1999. It's not like he's got a cell phone. So he drives back to the ranch house to go and tell them, hey, I need some help. There's a creature out here. So when he gets back over there with his older brother, this guy Robinson, or his brother-in-law, I'm sorry, and they get off the four-wheelers, and he goes over there, and he goes, there's nothing we can do with this thing. What are we going to do? And he goes, well, let's go back, at least get a camera. So they want to take pictures of it, right? It starts to get dark, and they're kind of debating what they're going to do, whatever. So they get 2 or 3 other guys. His uncle comes, his cousin, And as they're driving out there, they see a helicopter, like a helicopter.
Yeah, I was gonna say that someone's coming for that
Yeah.
thing. It's not gonna be there when they get back.
Exactly. And so one of them had a scope, and when he looked, this is freaky, when he looked up at the helicopter through the scope, he saw somebody pointing a rifle back at him. And that guy waved him off like this, like, nope, you know. And so he put the gun down and was like, hey, dude, okay, let's back off here. This is not for us to go and mess with, okay? I don't know what this is or what's going on here, but that was pretty much it. And then after that, they didn't see any more like Bigfoot or Dogman or nothing. Nothing else happened. It was a black unmarked helicopter, and the guys up in the chopper were wearing black. Who they were and what they were or what they were doing, I have no idea. No, that's not correct. I have some idea.
Yeah, we
I'll
could
tell you exactly
guess.
who they are. One of them's name is, I'm kidding, I'm joking, folks. He was 3'7" in the Marine Corps. He was
5'8".
0331. I know this guy. I'm telling you, I'm joking, folks. I'm kidding. I'm really joking, man. He did jump school at Benning and dive school at Coronado.
I have his Ancestry.com results right here.
Yeah, ran into him at Reading, you know, the MTC. But no, the thing is, though, these guys, who knows who they were? I would assume there's some kind of mercs. They're probably former military, whatever, and they're probably working for someone either privately or a shadow government organization. I said that. I'm, you know, maybe I shouldn't, but that's probably what happened. You know, that's. I mean, you know, it's just common sense. Thank you, William, for that donation. I don't really know what that was. I can't tell you. Do I believe his story? Yeah, I do believe it. You know, I do. I think that there's something weird going on here. Joe says, been shot up with Dorsey in the psych ward. I have too. I got into it when I was young. I was in facilities, and I got into a fight with another kid, and I was winning, and so I got, you know, and so I know what it feels like, and it knocks you out, dude. So, you know, if I had to put my finger on what was going on with this creature, why it got tranked, and this guy that gave me this story, like I said, I don't know that that's his real name. I don't know anything. I don't know if Robinson's his brother-in-law's name. I don't even know if that's correct. But he was pretty adamant that this happened. And I believe, like, I believe it was Willard, not Willard, but it was in that area, like the closest town, I guess, the closest, you know, town was that. This is in the late 90s. Now, it seems like, you know, a small enough place, but I mean, if you go out to New Mexico, like I've been all over New Mexico, it's a lot of big, wide open spaces. I mean, it's not a little place. It's like Arizona is not a small place. I don't know, you know, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. I don't know. It's just one of those, I get a bunch of these kind of stories. Moving on to another one, though, like that's all I got for that one. I don't have anything else. I was just like, wow, that's crazy. Nothing else ever happened. The guy never said anything about having any other paranormal experiences. I sent a message asking that, and I never got a response from that. So if you're out there listening, you got more to say or an update, send it my way. Dave House says there are others that have seen the black helicopters. Yeah, for sure. You know, and a lot of times, you know, somebody will tell me a story, and then like a week later they'll be like, yeah, and then I saw these black helicopters flying around for like days, you know, and you're like, why didn't you tell me that the first time? Like, just, you know, because, you know, I guess they just didn't think, you know, like put two and two together. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Most people would kind of be suspicious of that, but people do that. Like they'll leave out certain things. I don't think they're lying. I think what happens is they tell the story and they're so like, I got to tell this, you know, and then certain details just kind of like fall by the wayside, you know. Another thing people don't understand is they say, give us every last detail. Well, you know, that's not always as easy as it sounds, because when you go through something traumatic, sometimes details are just left out of the memory. And then sometimes they don't come back. It could be days, weeks, even years. And then, because I've had people tell me, well, this person gave me a story, and then, a month later, they gave me more details. They added a bunch of stuff to it. That's a tricky one because sometimes people add details because they're remembering the details. But then it could also be that someone maybe, I don't know, added some creative details to their brain while they were talking about it. What do you think, Anthony?
I mean, I think it could be a mix of both. Because I mean, you got to understand that whenever people see these things that they don't that they that shouldn't exist, it's emotionally taxing, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
then it can be traumatic. So you're not gonna remember everything immediately, and it's kind of like waking up from a dream, you know, and you try to remember it, and the more you try to remember it, the more of it slips away. But then later on in the day, some of it might come back to you, like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that happened in my dream. Maybe it's the same with people who have these experiences.
Yeah, like the other day I was driving with my wife in the vehicle and she's like, I remember. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I almost wrecked. And I was like, she's like, yeah, that's right. I remember. I was dreaming, and I remember this, and I'm like, wow. Didn't take all that, but I'm joking with you, Nelly. I'm just messing with you. She does do that, though. She'll be like, I remember now. Luckily, she hasn't ran me off the road when she's done it, but, you know, I'll tell you another one. I really want to tell this one because this one's crazy. But they're all crazy, and I don't mean crazy like, oh man, you lunatic. I mean like crazy wild, like it's wild, man. When I was young, it was like weird, wild stuff, and now it's like it's crazy. I don't know what the kids are saying these days, but this one really disturbed me. This person, she reached out to me, and she lived here in Austin. Now she lives like somewhere like up in North Texas. Um, and so she was telling me, she says, about 10 years ago, she worked. She believes she's not 100%, but she believes she worked in the same building that I worked at. Jim Kovacs, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it. And she said, I worked in a building that you worked at. And she's like, I'm almost positive the way you described it. She's like, and I did security there. And she said this was like 2012. Like, this would be more. That'd be about, 11 years? 11 years ago? She said it was 11 to 12 years ago from 1 year to the next. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, point is, she was working for a company and she got a job through a temp service and they sent her as a security guard to work contract or whatever to go work at this building. And I believe this is the same building. But she had an encounter with what we would call a rake on the roof. And I'll tell you, from now it gets kind of convoluted because if I go from my memory when I was there last, which was over 20 years ago, I'm gonna maybe not know exactly. So I try to close my eyes and visualize what she was telling me. You go up to the top of the and it's a little different from when I was there. You go to the top floor, you come out. There's a door that locks automatically behind you. Okay, it was the same when I was there. If this is the same building, there's a big like rectangular type thing, and then in the middle at the very top, you go up these stairs, which is I think about 10, 12 feet, and then there is a pad where there's like a helicopter pad. There used to be a place where a helicopter could land there. And then you walk around and it's really pretty up there too. You can see the city from up there. I mean, and then there is a big sign and then you can walk around the outside of it. And believe it or not, I don't like heights, but I actually used to walk around out there, which sounds crazy. I mean, I look up there now and I'm like, I don't know how I did it. I used to walk around on the outside of that sign. And there's no wall or anything that protects you. You're just about 5-6 feet and then you would fall to your death, like very, assuredly. But I even like laid down and crawled to the edge and looked down, which is looking back on it now. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. But, I was a different person. And when I was young, I was pretty fearless and I just didn't care about stuff. And so this young lady, when she was walking around up there, she hears like footfall. And she gets up to the top, and she goes upstairs up to the top, and she's looking down from the what used to be a helicopter pad. Helicopters aren't landing there now. I'm almost positive of it, but I've never seen one do it. But when it was first built, which I assume it was built in the 80s, or maybe the late 70s, maybe there was, but when it didn't happen when I was there in the mid 90s. And so she was looking over. OSHA wouldn't like that exactly. But she was looking over the side of this, and she sees this thing that looks like a ball, and it's got she could see like it had like little like nodules on it, like what looks like a spine, but it's rolled up almost into like a ball. But she could see these two things protruding from either side of it, which she thought looked like feet. She's staring down at it, and she's up there. And there's nobody else up there. There's nobody in that building. It's just her, by herself. She's like, I weigh like 125 pounds. She's like, and there's this thing that's just down there, like rolled up in a ball. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I think I told this story on the Haunted Tower. And I know that I told this story on one of the paranormal potlucks of the podcast. If you guys remember, there was a guard that I worked with that said that he saw something stick to the window on like the 14th floor, I believe.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe it was the 12th floor, but it was like, it looked like a rake or something. It had like it's, the lats or whatever you call them. They don't have lats. I don't know what they have, but they have this like webbing, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like flying squirrel
Yeah,
type.
like a flying squirrel. And this thing was like on the window. And this guy's like sitting there looking at it. Y'all remember that story? I don't know if y'all remember that story.
Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, and it was. I remember this story because I went back when I read this one, and I went back and I looked up. The files have a few different like lists of whatever, and I can't remember now what episode it was because I wasn't actually going to tell this story tonight. I was going to tell it on Sunday, and I got told like an hour and a half before I left the house that Kirk wasn't going to be able to make it, and so then I was like, oh crap. That's when I started like kind of like, okay, I gotta get these stories together that were supposed to be for Sunday. So I might be a little bit off my game here. But there was a creature that was seen on one of the windows. And this guy's like, it looked like a flesh and blood creature. And I was like, yeah, Dave, I think it was. Like he quit or something. Yeah. And he saw that, and it was like, he goes, I'll never forget it. It was just like, it was like it stuck to the window. And when I started describing it to him, I said, dude, that sounds like what we call the rake, like a pale crawler. And like people have switched from calling it the rake because that's a creepypasta name to a pale crawling humanoid. Call it whatever you want. It looks like some kind of white demonic entity. I don't know what it is. But this girl, and this could have been the same creature. And what is that?
It's Tony's phone.
And so it could have been like, it's no big deal. I just know what it was. It was like, what if that's the same thing? Could be the same creature. I don't know. But I know that this woman who was by herself, and I said, did you have any kind of weapons? And she's like, I had a flashlight. Because you're not, I guess, because the building's locked up, she's not expecting to confront, if something happens, call the police, right? But I don't know, man. I don't know what I would do. And even me, myself, I'm not a helpless, lost, babe in the woods type guy. I'm not, I'm nobody's patsy. So I'm not going to, but that would freak me out. I'd be terrified. The good thing, I guess, if there is a good thing to it, was that it wasn't huge. It wasn't big. She said it was probably about 3 feet, in the back, but it was rolled up. And she's like, literally watching this thing. She goes, I watched it for several minutes. I didn't know what to do. She's like, I had my phone. She's like, but I was too scared to try to even take a picture. And we get pictures all the time. It doesn't do any good now. I mean, but, I told her, I didn't say, oh, well, you should have got a picture because, people are just going to say, oh, it's not real, whatever. She's like, I'm leaning my camera, like phone over the side. And she's like, right then I get a text. and it makes a noise. And she's like, that is, that's when you freak out. Okay? Because then the thing started to roll. Yes, roll. Like it began to roll. Now, when it rolled, she backed up and then she turned and she goes, all I remember is looking up at the sky and praying to God. And she was like, I was like, can you please save me from this demon? What is this? What is this? She's never read one shred of creepy spaghetti, pasta, whatever. I was going to say spaghetti. Creepy spaghetti. Same thing, right? It's a type of pasta, whatever. She's never read any creepy pasta. She's never listened to any of these shows before. Her cousin turned her on to this. She's like, I'm laying there and I'm just looking up at the sky. I remember the night sky. She's like, and I remember tears coming down my face. She's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. She's like, there is a creature, an actual Pokemon. This is her words, not mine. She said an actual Pokemon creature that's right there on the roof of the building that I'm working at. She's like, and I had heard all the stories about it being haunted and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you know, I told my cousin about this story, and he was like, you got to listen to this guy. It sounds like the same place. So, I mean... So what she did, she turns and she looks, she gets the courage. She says, I can't lay there forever. She's like, I look down and it's gone.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah. I know that's the worst. Like I hear these stories and we've gotten so many of those, right, Tony? Like where when you get to the part where they can't find it,
that's
you
why
feel the panic yourself.
That's why when I said like last time, like I would recommend, even though as hard as it would be, to just keep your eye on it because when it's gone and you don't know where it's at, that I can't imagine.
Worse,
that.
dude. You're like, I saw a bear, and they're like, where is it? I don't know.
You just hear it noises around.
Or you're in the water and you see an alligator tail come up or something.
Yeah.
You know? What was that? I got to walk back and you're like, I don't know.
Corley Cantor said, roly poly rake.
Or when a spider. Miss?
Yeah.
Did that happen the other day?
Oh, God.
No, that happened last night to me. I was like doing something on the computer and I saw a spider crawl on my wall, and I went to smash it with a paper towel and I missed, and it went like it went in between the wall and my computer desk, and I pulled it out and tried to find it. I couldn't find. I still haven't found it.
Oh, no.
No, what sucks is when you're like getting ready to kill it, so you just try to find something real quick, and then you
look
can't
back and
find
it's
it.
gone.
That's the worst.
Yeah, that's...
But you know, with this thing she saw, the fact that it's small, like that wouldn't even be a consolation to me, because the chimps aren't big either, and they'll tear you to shreds.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. It's not like this thing is, you know, like you're going to go, you know,
Size.
oh, well, it's not real big.
Yeah.
You know,
So I'm
you
not
see
scared
an
of it.
aberration. And what I mean is, and not apparition, aberration, something that's aberrational that you don't, it's not something you normally see. When you see something like that, your first thought isn't like, oh, well, at least it's tiny. You know, I mean,
Size doesn't matter with the
so
unknown.
what? I mean, big deal, you know. I mean, what would you do, Tony?
I think I would just hop right off and just take it with me, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what you can do. I think that's in one of those situations where you just have to hope it leaves you alone. And then, I guess, send a text like, hey, you killed me, to whoever texts them.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so she had nowhere to go. Like,
No.
was she?
She could go down the stairs and then walk out to the left and go back out through the to the top floor. But that creature is down there somewhere. Let me finish the story. So what she did, and she had to be brave. Thank you for the donations, Miguel Guerra. He had something. We'll read that in a minute. And then Travis Family First. Thank you for that donation too. What she did was she like kind of rolled and then crawled to the other side and looked down, and then she crawled to the other side and looked down, and the only other side was the side where the stairs were. She didn't see it. So at this point, she's got to go down the stairs. What do? I mean, at some point, you can't stay up there all night. this thing may decide to unfurl itself and just come up the stairs. And this is where it gets even weirder. It was doing just that. She hears like something is plotting. That's my words. Plotting, P-L-O-D, whatever, up the stairs. And then she's like, I hear it, kind of making a hissing noise, and then it was making a rattling noise too. Now I've heard that before, not always, but I've heard it a couple times when it comes to these creatures. And she says it was like it was hissing and making a rattling noise, and she's like, what in the heck, not exactly her words, but am I dealing with here? She said she just kept hearing it getting closer and closer and closer. She's like, she goes, my heart was beating out of my chest. And I thought, okay, well, I can jump off of this helicopter pad and then try to run. If I don't break my legs, I can try to run, still, whatever this crap is, I want to go away. This not COVID, as they said it's not, but it seems like it is. But anyway, she waited. And then it stopped. And a few minutes go by, and she's just sitting there going like, what am I going to do? She's trying to call. No service. She can't get any. I know that. That place is like a dead zone. And that's got to be the same place. She couldn't get any. She couldn't call out. So she's stuck. She's sitting up there just like a sitting duck. This thing, she looks. There it comes up the stairs. She sees this bulbous head, and she sees this head kind of turning side to side like this, looking like scanning, like almost like a robotic. She's like, and then it looks at her, and she said that it had like little slits. This is really weird. Once it laid its sights on her, she said the eyes kind of popped like, pew. She said they went from like little slits to like, pew, like big round black eyes. No nose. Thank you, SKM, and that is true. But I used to like the Braves, but not anymore. But this thing looks at her. What does she do? Then it kind of slides back and forth. She said the way it was moving, like it was kind of sliding around back and forth. I would say undulating, whatever. Gets up onto the roof with her. She's like, then she sees the arms, that they had arms, unfurl, and then the legs kick back, and she hears a pop, like, and then on the other side. And it gets down in kind of like a position like it's going to attack her. It's still, a good distance from her. I don't remember how many feet that it was, and she didn't tell me, and I don't remember exactly. I know in my mind's eye if it's the same place. So she rolled, and she jumped off. And then she's dead. That's it. She died. It's a horrible story. I hate that she died, but whatever. She's unalive.
And then she told the story from the afterlife.
Yeah, and she sent me the messages through a series of dreams and sort of...
She just forced ghosts.
We poured some beans out on the table, and then we counted them and did some kind of weird seance-y type stuff. You wouldn't understand it. That's how I got this.
You had to be there, but it
We used some chicken bones, too.
Chicken bones, the entrails, the offal, as they say. I'm joking, folks. I'm kidding. Okay, I'm trying to lighten the mood here because it is scary, serious. She jumps off, and then she makes her way quickly, but she's got keys, right? She's got to, open the door. They have a swipe thingy deal, and she's like, it's not working. Nothing works in that place. Nothing electronic. It wasn't working. So then she hears, she looks over, and it's standing there, kind of like with its arms out in front of it. She said it looked like a pale chupacabra, and not the little dog-looking one, okay, but the one that you hear about all the time in the weird, what? What? But the one that you hear about, it looks like an alien, like a reptilian, whatever. She said it kind of looked like that, but it was pale. And the eyes were black. And the mouth, she said when it opened its mouth. It was huge. It was this huge gaping mouth. So she opens the door and it runs towards her and she slams the door closed. The door locks behind her. It begins to try to unlock the door and then it starts to slap the glass, which is, I believe, if I remember correctly, when I was there, it was like really thick, heavy glass. Then she goes through that level. There's another door. She closes behind her. Then she's in the elevator lobby. She didn't even bother with that crap. She's over there like pushing the button and it's taking forever. She just starts running down the freaking fire escape, gets to another level. Then she feels a little more comfortable, takes an elevator, goes down and gets into the control room. Calls the police. Police show up. Well, what did you see? I think there was a suspect. Well, what did it look like? Oh, it was white. White clothing. White skin. What? Yeah, it was white skin. Yeah, she didn't know what to say. This person goes, yeah, in the late 90s, the chupacabra was everywhere. Yeah, you're right. This person tells the police that. They go upstairs with her. She opts to stay far back. They go up to the top. And she's like, I'm honestly, seriously thinking they're going to die. Like, she was so scared. She's like, these police officers are going to die. They're going to be up there and they're going to end up, something bad's going to happen to them. She was thinking that. Like, she was that terrified. So she's hanging back, waiting for these two law enforcement officers to go and check. She hears them talking, walking around. They come back out. They don't see anything. When they're getting ready to leave, she hears one of the officers tell the other officer, he's like, I saw some kind of weird slime on the side of the wall by the door. They didn't tell her that. So she walks behind him and she's like, excuse me. She's like, did you say you saw something behind there? And he turns around and he goes, yeah, I don't know what that was. I mean, weird. And then they just get in their cars and they leave. So I asked her, I said, did you finish your shift? She's like, I did, which is pretty brave.
Yeah.
She said, I stayed down in the control room. You know, this wasn't the age of Uber and all that crap, you know. She's like, I had no money to get home. I rode the bus. And then sometimes my mother would come and get me. She's like, so I sat there in that control room until I couldn't take it anymore. And she's like, in about an hour before my shift, I went down the street around the corner to the 7-Eleven. She says, I sat there drinking a coffee, trying to calm down, whatever, or drinking a hot chocolate, she said, trying to calm down. And then she goes back, clocks out, the other guard comes on, and she's like, starts to tell the guard, proceeds to tell him what happened. This dude obviously knew something because he said, dude, I've heard the other guard that used to be here talk about seeing this weird creature, but he said it would be on the outside of the building. I've never heard of it being on the roof. Well, common sense says if it can crawl around on the outside of the building, it can get onto the roof. Which makes me wonder what the heck, because sometimes when I was up there, I would hear footsteps and things, and I go and I would look, and I didn't see anything, and then I would just go back down. And it never once crossed my mind until recently that it could have been one of these rake-type creatures that's just climbing around that building. But why would it choose to be around that building? Now, here's the $1 million question, and this is what I want to ask my audience, because you're the smartest audience in the entire cryptid paranormal community. What would attract this creature? In order to explore this, you'd have to know the nature of this creature first, right? What could be attracting it to such a place? Now, we've talked about this on the Haunted Tower. If you haven't seen it or listened to it, go check it out. Something drew that creature to that place. If it's an underworld, demonic, physically manifested demon, which I believe exists, they come from the underworld. Why would it pick that particular place? I'll give you my 2 cents, and then you guys at home can tell me what you think. Because that place is infested. That place is infested with demonic activity. In fact, I saw something that looked like a smaller version of what I saw when I was 15. Looked just like a werewolf, like a Dogman or something. But it wasn't. It was just that thing, whatever was in that. And that was, whatever was on that particular floor, the 12th floor. It liked to pose as something that makes you afraid. I came to that conclusion, not just from what happened to me, but from what happened to some of the other guards. I had a couple of the guards I worked with, Donnie and Zach. And Donald told me that he was up on that floor one time and he saw a giant spider. He was terrified of spiders. He had had an incident when he was a child. Zach, he had his own fear. He went to sleep up there in one of the offices. He was just really tired. Some of the guards would do that, and they would go up there and they'd kick back and go to sleep. He started dreaming. There was this thing that he had that would come out of his closet when he was a child that looked like a hag. We've all heard of these things. And it showed up in the office where he was at, and it grabbed his arms. It opened its mouth like it was going to eat him. He opens up his eyes, and for a split second, it was there. And he fell backwards in his chair, and he jumped up and rolled and got out of there. You do the math, you put 2 and 2 together, and you said, okay, whatever's on that floor is being whatever we're afraid of. It's like It, right? Like you've all heard of It, right? That's where I got this, idea. I'm like, dude, this thing on that particular floor is scaring us. It's just whatever you're afraid of. That's why I think that cleaning lady that I thought was the cleaning lady turned into a werewolf-looking creature, like behind, like I could see it moving on the other side of the door. It was one of the scariest moments of my life. I don't think that it was a real person. I don't think that it was the cleaning lady. I don't think that it was a werewolf. I think it was something trying to make me think that that's what it was. Now you want to know why people are seeing this rake type creature there. And I got a story from a parking garage, which is about 3 blocks. You guys know where that building is at, okay? So if you go down, how many blocks would that be from the parking garage where I used to work right there?
Maybe 3 or 4.
3 or 4, maybe 4. Or would it be 3 or 4? Yeah. So I got a person from the parking garage that I used to work at who claimed to have seen a rake type creature when they were coming back from the club, and it was 4 a.m. and everybody, the rush was already over, everybody had left, and it was downtown, and it was a guy and a girl, and they work downtown at a bar, and this was last year, and they saw one of these things crawl out from underneath someone's car when they were backing out. And I was like, did you run it over? Because I hope you did. Oh, no. It's an undiscovered species. They could be endangered. Don't run them over. Let's feed them grapes. Let's make friends with them. If you hug it, listen to its problems, it'll be your buddy. That's not my philosophy. I mean, if you have that philosophy, that's fine. Whatever. I respect that. That's cool. Whatever, bro. Not me. I don't think that's how it works. The prevalence of these, I mean, it's hard to wrap your mind around. But that particular story there, like, scared me because it just brought back a lot of memories just flooding back. And I thank you for that story, Marissa, that gave me that story. It's crazy. Like, you start thinking about these things and you're like, what are they? because they're not a in the woods forest phenomena. They are in the woods. They're in town. They're moving around, doing all kinds of stuff.
Extremely hostile.
Mm-hmm.
Just weird looking things. I mean,
They like chicken skin. You know, men's hearts will fail. Beasts of the earth. I was talking to Barton about that the other day. What are we dealing with? Are they alien in nature? Well, yeah, according to your theory, Anthony, everything is alien, right? If it's not, I mean, it's like...
Yeah, because I mean, alien just means not from Earth, you know, not of this planet. So, yeah.
And we've talked about it. Is it alien? Is it demon? Is it both? It's weird. But I could tell you right now, you could not pay me all the money in the universe to ever work at that place again. Like if you brought a mountain of suitcases and it was just full of money, gold. You say, hey, go work there. You got to do a month. I do a day. I go take a chance for a day.
I do a shift.
I do a shift.
Yeah.
Because that, you know, and then we could, you know, live the rest of our lives without having to worry about all kinds of stuff. And then I could help people that I want to help and do the things I want to do.
Not even a good shift,
But
either.
I don't want to lose my freaking mind or my life.
I would show I would show up there and do that for a month, but I wouldn't do my job. I'd just be there.
Not a real shift, like a half shift.
I'm not going to be a good security guard. I'll take your money, and I'll be present at that specific address, technically speaking. But I'm not going to be a good guard.
No, exactly. No way. And I wouldn't expect anybody to do that. I won't expect anybody to go do something I wouldn't do myself. If I wouldn't do it, why would I tell you to do it? That's chicken crap. Sergeant Roselle says, Wolf, I've heard you tell the full story on when you worked at that haunted office building, but it's been a few years. I'd like to hear it again. Can you advise us to where to go to hear it again? You guys can look it up and give the number to it. I can tell you this right now, dude. I was not the only person that had experiences in that building. And there is actually a restaurant right down the street from there that's extremely haunted, too. It's famously haunted. I think the area is. It's the area. I worked at the end of the block on the other end of the block. That's on one end, and I worked on the other end. Me and Scorpion worked there at the other end, and we saw stuff. Scorpion saw a full-on apparition. And the neighbor lady that used to be in that building behind us, she was sitting there scaring the crap out of me one night, just telling me all the weird stuff she'd seen. And I was like, oh, that's cool, you know, and I was like writing down some of the stuff she told me. But when she walked off, I was sitting there going like, great. And I'm literally like on one end of the block from that building. And now I'm outside, thank goodness. But saw a lot of weird stuff there, man.
Gary
Just real
said,
quick, the episodes about that building are episodes 121 and 122. It's called The Haunted Tower, Part 1 and 2.
Gary Scorpion says, you know me, Wolf, I do a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Scorp, okay, before you talk big here, okay, weren't we on, what was the show? Haunted? We were on the Travel Channel together, okay? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Scorp, but were you not scared, right? The Church of the Forgotten, the episode Church of the Forgotten. We did that
Season
for
3,
Haunted.
Episode 2.
Season 3, Episode 1.
Oh, 1.
We were the first set of Episode 1 on Season 3 of These Woods Are Haunted. And Michael Sheen is a good friend of mine, and he got us to do that one. I don't even like retelling that story. Now, Scorp, you're going to talk big. Now, most of the time, Scorp's pretty brave, right? We could put him in anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably one of the bravest of all of us. But
I don't know if it's bravery or just like
Apathy.
see, and he just admitted he's scared of. Scorpion, if you're scared of that place, why would you take a dude? That place at that building was probably worse than that. The only thing that would make that the place, the Church of the Forgotten, more terrifying than the Haunted Tower, and I didn't name these, Anthony did, but the only thing that would make that more scary is because you were out in the woods in the middle of nowhere by yourself.
Yeah.
You could scream all day long, nobody's going to hear you. If you can make it out of the building of the Haunted Tower, then you could scream, and maybe some homeless person will go, "Hey, buddy, shut up. You got $1?" That's the only difference. That's the only difference.
I don't know. Like, the thing is it better to maybe be able to escape into the woods and escape anywhere, or being forced to go, like, down, and you have to go down the building that's already haunted? So, like, what's worse there? You're confined up in this Sauron's tower, and you got to figure out a way down. Like, I don't know what's worse.
So, Lolo had a funny comment. She said, "They're in the sewers getting ready to come up through your toilet and bite you on the butt."
Just talking about the rakes, I think.
Yeah, the rakes. But
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if they show up in my toilet, they're the ones getting traumatized.
Oh, man.
You have no idea. That's the wrong point of
Curtis
attack right
says
there, my friend.
Escape into the woods, known for Dogman sightings. Yeah, because I think there were a couple sightings in that area. In fact, I bet I have 2 or 3 in that area. Probably, yeah, I'd say I probably have at least 2 or 3 from that area. And I don't remember anything like real show worthy, but like people seeing them on the side of the road. Somebody saw one eating like roadkill. I mean, it wasn't anything like that. They're not going to remember, real. But yeah, they've been seeing that. So is Bigfoot.
Well, I mean, you're going to be
Pick
seeing...
your poison, though.
You're going to be seeing Dogman anyway if you're scared enough of them, if they're just going to make your fears come true. So it's like if your worst fear is Dogman, you're going to see Dogman. Or it's going to be worse because you're already going to see what you're most scared of, instead of like if you're only kind of scared of Dogman.
Can you clean that up? I cannot see.
Yeah,
out of
here.
this.
I got it.
All right.
There you go. I'll just take it. I'll take this. Put these on. I'll put on my falling down glasses. I'm the bad guy? These are better. Well, if you stop and you Loki says, not trying to find out what my worst fears are.
Yeah, exactly.
Who is? I mean, who is, dude? I mean, rake tastes like pork. Oh my gosh. Curtis got you on that one. I don't know, folks. When I look back at this, and a lot of memories came back to me, if that is indeed the same place, which, it may very well not be, but from the description of the place, because she didn't give me the address. She didn't give me the address to that, and I didn't actually get to.
And you never gave the address either.
Yeah. And so, and I don't know it by heart. I could look it up very easily, I guess.
I mean, I guess like the way you would describe it, like the name of the building is like extremely placing. Like you would know exactly where that's at. So that's why I guess you would never really need to.
The point is, though, is that you're up in the tower, okay, like Tony just said. You're not, I mean, you could scream all day up there and nobody's going to hear you either.
Well, you got a private helicopter, Scorp, that we don't know about?
Yeah, and so,
And the church is gone.
the church is rubble now,
Yeah, so like the tower's still there.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I think because you didn't experience the tower, Scorp, that's why you're more like, oh, I'll go do it, because you didn't experience it. What you experienced. And Loki says, let him go.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
it's
let him
not.
go. Let's call them and say, hey, would you pay us millions of dollars to go sit in your... They're going to be like, no.
It's not
into that.
bravery. It's just ignorance is bliss. That's what it is. It's like...
Texas Jim says, where was the church at? It was a long ways from Austin. We really had no business taking that account. But my business partner, who I was teasing him the other day, we were talking about my book coming out, and he's like, hey, no, check out your book, whatever. We were talking about UFOs. And he's an old boomer. He's a good guy. I like him. He's funny. And he's been like a second dad, or well, I'm going to say second, he's been like a dad to me. The last 16 years that I've worked with the guy has been, up and down, but we get mad and we argue, whatever. We have different philosophies, but, we're friends. And he's taught me a lot about business. But he was talking about them, and the thing came up about the the church. And he was pretty adamant about us not talking about locations of where we work and things like that. And I told him I wasn't going to do that. It's not a big deal to me. I don't really care. But, you know, we also talked about that with the producers at Travel Channel too. So it's not really for me to say because nobody wants to get sued if somebody goes out and gets hurt. You got to be careful with that. You got to be careful saying people's names. You got to be careful saying people's locations. Some of these people that do that, that's fine. But if you're a podcaster and you're starting out in this business or whatever, and you want to get somebody's story, you really, really need to get it in writing that they're okay with you telling their story. That's different if they come and tell it themselves. They're pretty much agreeing, whatever. But I try to, if I retell somebody's story, I want to make sure that I get a record of them saying, hey, you know, it's okay. It is something that you should probably, you know, you can't always do that. A lot of times people will just message you, whatever. But you got to be careful because some people get really upset if they start getting messed with or harassed. Because I told a story and people kind of figured it out and they started harassing her, and she was on social media and she did not like that at all because too many details were divulged to where she was able to kind of be found. But by the same token, and I'm not trying to defend my actions like saying, oh, I'm right and she's wrong. There's no right or wrong. But this person did like actually put that story, at least part of it, in a group. And that's how I found her. And I was like, you told part of that story in the group. So when people heard me tell it, and she's like, well, I didn't think your show was that big that people would find me. And I'm like, lady, I got thousands of people who listen to this, especially on the podcast. So, you know, it is what it is. Somebody's going to find you, you know? I mean, if you're going to put your story out there, you should expect that there may be repercussions. Somebody may
recognize it.
Yeah. I mean, they found Hernandez Ranch, you know, or somebody did, or at least they got close to the area. They went around putting business cards, and that's what put me at odds with Abel before he passed away, which unfortunately he was our friend. And, you know, it didn't feel good that this guy didn't trust me because, you know, some, you know, buttheads decided to go running around out there, just had to go find it, you know? Anyways, moving on. That story is crazy and it freaks me out. And yes, there was a parking garage that was attached to that, but that's not where these people had their sighting. This was another parking garage, and I've worked every parking garage in Austin. I've worked half of the buildings in Austin. I've worked all these places. And I can tell you there are certain buildings that are absolutely haunted and messed up in comparison to other buildings. Some of them are way, way more active than, you know, there's some that are just like, there's nothing. And then some that are just like, you walk in there and it makes your skin crawl. You can just tell it's infested. It just depends. But moving on, we can talk now. We can talk about Bigfoot. We can talk about, we've been an hour and a half. I'm talking about the rake. We told a Dogman story.
What are the stories you guys want?
Juan, hey, I'm glad you made it home, Arturo. We were driving around last night, and I believe we came pretty close to where Arturo had his encounter. Arturo, yeah, that's pretty, that's funny. Anyway, we're not going to get into it or whatever, divulge your story or whatever on here. But let's just say that we were pretty close, I think, to that area. Hey, Beth. Beth, you should be doing the editing for my book. What are you doing popping in to say hi? Get to work. Get back. Get back. I'm going to ask you here over the show here, Beth, how is it going with the you're on the Bigfoot book. How is it going? And what is your opinion of it so far? And don't lie. If it sucks, just say on there, hey, your book sucks, and I'm willing to take that chance. She's like, dude, I just finished a chapter. Okay. What do you think so far? Yay, nay? What do you think?
Be honest now, and we'll honestly just block you if you don't like it.
I'm loving it.
That's
okay,
great.
thank you.
That's exactly the answer we wanted.
All right. See, this is what happens when you pay people. They love it. I'm joking, Beth. I know that. Connie Cohen says, but yeah, the gist of it is Dogman are out there in the woods to kill rakes.
Yeah, she had a comment
that.
earlier where she said she heard a story where she saw a rake and a dogman, and then a hunter saw a rake and a dogman.
Connie?
Yeah. One of the first dogman stories I ever listened to was about a hunter out in the woods with a dogman and a rake, and the dogman pointed to the rake and telepathically told the hunter, "We're here to kill it." I'm assuming.
Yeah. And we've heard it both ways. Like, we have a
Well, I mean,
ton of reports. I mean,
speaking
both
of
ways.
Hernandez Ranch, that reminds me of the rake story where
But that wasn't Hernandez Ranch. That was two.
it was in
that
that thing.
Yeah.
It was in that vicinity.
12
though.
miles, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Ernest?
Mhm.
Was 12 miles away? Yeah.
But then, like, they bring it to them and say, like, "Hey, like,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't us."
Yeah, but okay, think about this is one thing I thought about that, and I didn't argue with him about it. But one of the things I'm going to say, though, okay, a dog man kills one of these creatures, right? It brings it to you and says, "Look, I'm the good guy," and then drops it, and it's like, "You want a Scooby snack?" I still don't trust you.
Yeah.
A pit bull can
Well,
kill a free, you know.
I don't know if they were doing it as like, I trust me. I just like, they were like, "Hey, don't go to war with us. It's not us. We know better." Like, I think that's what they were saying. Like,
Or it's like
don't mess with us because we're not doing this. Yeah.
or maybe it was like if we can do this to this thing, what do you think we'll do to you?
Oh, there
It could also be a little bit like that.
That's because that was the point I was trying to make, and me and Armando argued about that. And y'all remember this? Me and Armando never fought or argued. Like, no, we were just like, he kept saying like, "Oh, well, the dog man could be there, you know, to like Connie's saying, to kill those things." And I said, or it could just be like Anthony said, it could be like a flex, you know, like, look, this thing that could easily kill you. And I think I've done this before. I mean, not kill, but you know, you do something to somebody and it makes an example. But this creature, like, it's like this thing can easily kill you, and I just easily killed it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like it was throwing it there. Of course, according to his story, that was like a large alpha dogman who he claimed was over 8 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so would it take a large 8.5 foot tall dog man to kill one of these things? Because we have heard stories, we've gotten stories of one of these things fighting 2 or 3 dog men at a time.
Well, that's what's weird to me, because then it's like, how connected to wolves are they? Do they hunt in packs? Do they hunt like how you would?
If 3 of them are fighting a rake,
so
I'd say that's a pack.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, then it might not be necessary for them to be like, they could probably take them on one-on-one, but why take that chance when you can fight coordinated with a pack and like just completely obliterate it?
Yeah.
So it could be like that 8 foot tall one could be like, I can handle this by myself, no problem. But I got all these guys to do it for me, and I'm here to show you that if it was trying to intimidate, that like, I'm here to show you we can take care of this. You know, this was been a big problem to you. This was the thing that was killing all your cows, and we can kill this. And that they killed this, not even me. It could be something like that, where it was just showing that if it was intimidating, that would be how it's going about it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was saying like, this is what was needed. Like, I was needed to kill this thing, because I just don't think that's necessary.
Well, I believe Ernest told us that it went up and it was like, ooh,
Yeah, and started doing benches. And
yes, Larry, I got the hat right here, brother. Thank you for the donation. Fisher and Sons Roofing, right here. And it actually fits. I like this hat. It's nice. It fits. Where did you get
it looks
these, Larry?
good too. The coloring I like.
I want to get some PRT with this. It fits form. I like it. So we're moving on here. I don't know what this thing was. I know this, though. Dogman does karate. You see that? That's a gi. And
That's Ryu's final form.
He's got a black belt. So, but then again, we know a guy who just got a black belt for doing nothing. So, I mean,
I think they just give them out.
Yeah, if you know the right people, they'll just give you one. And you still can't fight, dude. So whatever. That's my opinion. You want to talk about authors? I'm talking about you, fake karate guy, clown shoes, whatever. Here's the point. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, right, Logie?
Yeah, we were talking about the other day.
You talking about some clown shoes, bro? I got black belts too. I got like 5 of them hanging up in my closet. Here's the thing. If you're talking about this creature, this rake creature, right? Dogman, right?
Mhm.
Bigfoot. Okay. flying humanoid, whatever. I mean, you take your pick. You pick your poison. Which one would be the most terrifying? Like if you're dealing with one of those flying vampire looking creatures, the ones we've gotten stories about. A lot of people call them gargoyles. And I'd say vampire because they look more vampires to me. But which would you rather deal with? Like if you had to face one of them, like
It depends on where, right? I feel like, if you're fighting a flying humanoid on the top of a roof building, like let's say it wasn't a rake, but it was
picks
like
you up and drops you.
what can you do?
God.
That's just the worst case scenario. Middle of the woods, any of those creatures is horrible because it's like you're not really going to know how to escape it. It's in a situation where all the cards are in its hand and you're just kind of trying to survive at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it just really depends on like where you fight these things. If you're like, in the middle of your house, you're laying in bed, which one would be worse? I guess really these spectral dogmen that kind of just pop
in and out.
Those will probably be the scariest because it's an alpha.
They all do it though.
Mhm.
Creature that's I guess
That's the problem though, is that they all just kind of pop in and out.
Yeah, but that would probably be the worst. It's just a pop in and out thing.
No, I'll give you a Bigfoot encounter, and this one was really scary. I got a couple of them that were very similar. I looked them up and I was like, dude, these are like not identical, but you can tell they have the same sort of flavor. There's a city, well, it's in Durango. It's the city of Durango, but it's just south of Durango, which I believe is where, what's his name? Isn't that your stepdad? Wasn't he from there?
What?
He's
Oh
from Durango, right?
no,
Your grandpa.
Yeah, my grandpa
Your
was from Durango.
Sorry. But that was your grandpa on the other side. Really, really good guy. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Very nice man and very honest and respected guy in the community. But this guy sent me a story. This happened south of Durango, and they lived out in the middle of nowhere. And it was a story from Mexico. And since I've been telling some stories from Mexico, I've gotten more. One of the things that this person told me, and it's really it's I don't know. It's so similar to another one that it's like, dude, I don't know how. I don't know. It's like it's weird. It's so weird. There's like one that's almost identical. And when I looked at both of them, I had them confused. One of them was from Nebraska, Iowa. Oh, no, that was it was Nebraska. And the other one was this one. Then the settings, I kind of figured it out. It was two different stories. And this guy who gave me this story, I don't know, dude. If you're a child and you're outside playing with your brothers and sisters and your cousins or whatever, and what do you do, man? What do you do if a big, hairy, Bigfoot creature comes up and just grabs one of your siblings and then just takes off with it? Like, what do you do?
Count myself lucky.
Okay, one of your siblings okay, Adrian, you like him. So it's not okay, one of the other ones, like, because when you were a kid, if it took Gabby, you'd probably be happy. You'd probably just go inside and not say anything. But like, Dubs a scream. Yeah, exactly. But this thing, it goes up, it just snatches. It's first, one of the younger children saw it, right? She sees this thing. Okay. And then the guy that told the story, his name was Josue, which is like Joshua in Spanish, whatever. But she said, Josue. She's like, mira aquí, I see something over there. Look right here. He looks. His eyes are bad. He's a little kid. He's got no glasses, poor, dirt poor. He's like, I'm seeing a blob. It's too far away. He goes, I'm nearsighted. He's like, dude, I don't know what you're showing me. She says, there's a creature there. Okukoi. Looks like a monster. And he's like, I don't see it. So he goes to his older brother Simplicio. He says, Simplicio. You know, Florina says that there's a monster over there. Monstro. He looks, and this thing, he said literally, his brother told him that it flattened out, like it had gotten flat on the ground. So how these things are able to do that, he's like, this is 20, 30 feet away. So then all the kids kind of start walking towards it. They're brave, right? They get about 7, 8 feet from it. It pops up. Then it just snatches one of them and just runs off. Takes off into the brush. They freak out. They all run inside and they tell their, abuelito, hey, one of the kids was snatched, blah, blah, blah. One of the little ones, Rosa. So he's like, he freaks out, dude. He gets all of his brothers and his sons, everybody, they go out into the brush looking for this thing. They take off. It's about 2 hours until dark. This thing, they estimate, was about 9 feet tall. 9 foot tall creature. Right out in the open. Broad daylight that took this thing. Took this child, sorry. So this thing goes back into the brush, whatever, goes and hides. And this is what he told me. He says, dude, in Mexico, it's a little different than the United States, The news isn't going to go, unless it's one of those tabloids that's trying to make a buck off of some bullcrap,
Mm-hmm.
He said, this is what happened. His uncle, Miguel, he comes back. He says, we got attacked. He says, your uncle, Jesse's dead. And they're like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, he came back. He's like, we got to get water. We need, weapons and all this stuff. This happened back in like the 80s. He said this was in 1989. He's like, I was a kid. I'll never forget it. He was a small kid. He's only 6 years old. He said they all go back out into the brush to look for this child. And when people tell me, oh, Bigfoot is just harmless, it won't hurt you, it won't do anything else. I don't know, maybe the Bigfoot where you're from don't hurt people. And this was very much a Bigfoot. This was not no, Dogman. This wasn't any sort of other, it wasn't a Gugwee. This was a Bigfoot creature, ape-like, smelled horrible, like rotten eggs, black fur, very prehistoric man looking in the face, but with fur on it. More fur than like hair. And I made sure to get that, from him. I made a point of that. Snatches up a kid. And believe it or not, in this area, this was not the first time we'd heard of anything like this. He told me that. He's like, when I was a little, we were told, watch out. You go out and you start playing out in the woods or playing out near the brush, el cucuy, the monster will come. It grabs children. It's been doing this forever. That's what it does. I heard another story out of a place south of Guadalajara, very similar. Same thing. Grabs kids, takes them up into the hills, whatever. This creature, before this was all said and done, before it was all over, had killed 2 members of this guy's family. His cousin, which would have been his dad's first cousin, which would have been his second cousin, was never found, and they assumed that he was killed. They lived way out in the middle of nowhere. He's like, and eventually, he goes, one of my uncles goes into town to get the federales. Federales refuse to go help him. They're like, you're on your own, dude. We don't mess with those things. And he's like, what if they take somebody? He's like, if they take somebody and it's somebody we know, I mean, they're basically, tell them point blank. No mentiras. Like, if something happens, we to our family, we'll kill it. But you're not our family, and we're not going to go out there and die because these things kill people. And then the federales, when he got older, he had a friend who went to work in Durango and worked for the police. And his friend told him, he says, dude, we know these things exist. He's like, they've actually attacked some of our police. They live on the outskirts of town. They're not even like way out there. I mean, they're just right there. And they do grab people. They do take people. So what ended up happening is he lost his uncle and his cousin. They were able to retrieve the little girl. Both of her arms and legs were broken. They got her to a hospital. She survived. But not until a group of these creatures attacked them. And the story was they were very much like flesh and blood creatures, and they were coming up out of a hole. Like in the side of a little hill, there was a hole at the bottom of it. They said you could go down to that hole and you could yell and you could hear the echo. He said when he got older, he was curious. He said, I was 16 years old and I decided to go out into the brush and see. I wanted to see one. See it again. You know, he goes, I was a kid. He's like, and all that stuff that happened, it was almost like a bad dream. He's like, but I wanted to see one again. And I was like, did you? And he said, no, I didn't. He's like, I saw footprints. He's like, and I saw handprints. Massive. You could see it like they were, you know, on the ground and in the area. He's like, and we found a cave on the side of a hill. And me and two of my friends went up to that cave. And my one friend, who was a non-believer, he was a stupid kid. And the way he described it, he said, we were stupid kids. You know, we're stupid kids. And his friend yells. He screams into the hole. And he says, dude, why did you do that? So then they have to get up, him and his friend Daniel, and his other friend, Angel, and they all three run. Because what they heard answer was like, he said it was like something not of this world. They said it sounded evil, demonic, and he said it was like a roar. He said if you took like a chimpanzee and you mix it with a lion's roar, that's what it sounded like. Well, Corley, the problem with that is that guns are not allowed in Mexico now. They had them. Some of them, the people out there had them. His uncles had rifles, things like that for hunting. But you got to bribe. You got to be pretty heavy bribes or whatever. Things are different down there than they are up here. A lot different.
You'd also probably need like a 50 cal or an automatic weapon.
At least a 308. I mean,
Yeah.
you know. So here is these three kids, and they're running. Here's the weirdest thing about this story. This part. He's like, dude, I could hear something on our heels. It was like right behind us. He's like, and I never once turned around and looked. He said, but my friend Angel did. He turned around and he looked. The rest of us just kept running, the other two. Him and the moron that yelled. And they get back up to their little village, you know, where they you know, everybody's kind of related. You know, he's like, there's our little village there. He's like, and when we get back to civilization, to safety, he's like, we ran for what seemed like an hour. He goes, it couldn't have been an hour, but it seemed like it. And he said, dude, I asked my friend, I said, you turned around and you looked, you saw. What was it? What did you see? And he said, dude, I didn't see anything. There was nothing there. Now, you would probably tell yourself, oh, you know, that's because they scared themselves. They were scared. They were running for their lives, and so their mind went crazy, you know, just all over the place. And they just made themselves believe that something was after them. There was nothing after them. They were just kids, teenagers. Their minds, you know, imagination got away from them. But what did they hear screaming? Oh, that too. That's just part of your imagination. Because what his friend said, he goes, I saw nothing. The only thing I saw was just wind. I couldn't see anything. It was just like wind. And he goes, what do you mean it was wind? He goes, dude, it was like we were being chased by a dust devil. What the heck is that? And so I asked him, I said, do you think it was a diablo? It was a demon, a devil. And he said, yeah. I was like, so the cave where these Bigfoot were living had a demon there and it came out? He told me something interesting. He believed that those creatures had left. That's why people weren't seeing them in that area. They had moved on.
Something else moved in.
But maybe one of them, spirit or something, was there.
Maybe.
I believe this. I believe this is what I told him. And this is what I believe, and you can believe it or not believe it. It's your choice. But these things are able to be, yeah, Dick Richards, exactly. These things are able to be physical or not physical. And I think it all depends. I think it's our perception, you know. The terror that people feel from these creatures is palpable. I believe that it comes and it scares the living crap out of people. And I believe that these creatures, whatever they are, don't have to play by the same rules that we play by. I think if you entertain it, but they were physical in the sense that they were able to be shot. But here's what I'm going to tell you. One of his uncles shot one point blank with a rifle, a very large caliber rifle, right at the entrance of that hole. And there was no blood. This thing was able to snatch up a kid, and actually, one guy died of his wounds. Another guy was never found. So obviously, you know, you can do the math. So think about it. There was no blood. He had another story he told me. He said his great uncle, his Polito's brother, told him a story when he was younger. He watched one of these things kill a mountain lion. Said he was out feeding his chickens, and he hears this commotion on the other side of the barn, like, you know, just fighting going on, crazy stuff, man. He goes around, goes through the barn, comes out the other side, looks, he sees, and there is this mountain lion up against a tree being killed by a Sasquatch-looking creature, a Bigfoot, if you will. And he described it black, furred, same as the other ones. Their eyes red like burning coals. Then he turns around and looks at him, throws it over his shoulder, and just walks off like it's nothing. Had a few scratches on it. He's like, dude, but there was no blood. The only blood, he said, was coming off of that cat. Nothing was coming off of the scratches off of this creature. So you tell me what that is. Now, we could be looking at a situation where maybe those particular creatures are metaphysical, but we get these stories like all the time. The problem with the Bigfoot field is they don't want to touch this. If you send this very large organization that's kind of calling the shots, they're going to take out every bit of that, cut it down to where it's just a physical thing. They're going to take out details. They're going to take out all. They're going to leave out all the woo. Yeah. So that's the thing that gets me. You have to sit there and ask yourself the questions. We try to take stories that other people want to shy away from because it doesn't fit the narrative. Shade Viking, it's like Mexico is a magical place. Mexico is steeped in magic, in every form of magic. Mexico's got a lot of weird stories. It's rich with stories, man. I got a guy that's going to be coming on in a couple weeks who lives down there now. He's a friend of mine. He has a podcast. And he's got a lot of stories from Mexico that he's been getting from down there. They're feeding his podcast. I'm going to tell you right now, dude, there is some weird stuff down there. Very weird.
So some people say, like, throw some dynamite in that hole. It's like getting dynamite from a small village town in Mexico in the 80s.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Or even in the 90s. Holly M., is it possible that they go back and forth between physical and metaphysical rather than one or the other? Yeah, I think so. I interviewed a lot of people for my book, and a lot of these people had like multiple encounters. And I tried to pick people that had a bevy of experiences, not just like, oh, I saw one on the side of the road. And from then on, I've been into looking for the physical creature known as Bigfoot, which is what some of these people do. That's all they do. They see one on the side of the road, and then they're forever interested in it, and they believe in it, but they think it's just some physical thing because and they know they're the expert because they saw one on the side of the road. I kid you not. Then they host conferences and all kinds of stuff because, hey, I saw a Bigfoot on the side of the road. I don't know how that translates to you knowing anything, but whatever. Sounds good, right? So you give me your thoughts. What do you guys think?
I saw someone when we first asked the question of what would you do if your sibling got kidnapped. They said, I just chase after them. And what made me laugh was like, that's just a 2-for-1 special you're giving them. I mean, as a child, what could you really do if you chase after a Bigfoot?
Yeah,
Besides kind of just
at that point, it's time to just go running and screaming and tell your parents.
Find someone else. I think even as an adult, don't ever chase after these things alone. Find someone else.
I mean, like, I understand if it takes your kid in front of you. I mean, like, anyone would get hysterical and not just cease to care about what this thing is. And it's like, it's taking my daughter, it's taking my son. And I can't, like, you can't just walk away from that. I mean, even if it costs you your life, I could see a mom or dad not caring at that point and just willing to die to at least try and rescue their child. But if you're a little kid, I don't know. It's hard to even think about because those poor kids had to see something like that. I don't know.
Don't chase them, but show humility and respect. Most are good, but if you get a bad gut feeling through, though, follow it and get away from the area.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that you get. I don't think you're like 7 to 10, 12 feet tall, however tall these things are, and have this ridiculous superhuman strength if your intentions towards human beings are good. I mean, these things are alpha predators. I don't know. I don't think it's smart to assume that most of these things are good natured or have your best interest in mind or trying to protect you or anything. I mean, just think of it like this. Would you personally go into like an enclosure with the gorilla If the answer is no, then the answer should also be no. When it comes to your trust of Bigfoot, I mean,
Well,
or
yeah,
any
because
cryptid.
it's like, that is putting a lot of basis on hopefully they're not in a bad mood. Like
Yeah.
if you're
Or just
in a
hungry.
situation where they're in a bad mood, you're already gonna I don't see you changing anything from that situation. So like I don't think just figuring out the mood is gonna be able to save you from being attacked by these things. I think just
Well,
getting
and
away from them, period,
it's not
no
even
matter what mood they're in, should be the
it,
goal.
and it may not even be about mood. I mean, like if one of these things sees you and it's not it's not hungry, then and it leaves you alone, then that's probably why. Because like you see people swimming with the great white sharks, right? Or
Yeah, they
like
don't attack them.
yeah, they don't attack. It's like, well, yeah, they probably just ate. And if that same shark was underneath you, it'd probably be a different story. But it sees you, you see it. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
an
that's why
ambush
it's not
predator.
attacking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's why crocs go into the water and they explode on you. That's I mean, that's what happens. I mean, if you're in the water and the croc is on the shore, it'll go into the water. It's gonna try and ambush you. If you're on the surface and a great white's below you, it's gonna come up from underneath you. It's terrifying, thinking you're just fully exposed, your midsection. But I don't know what to tell people when they ask me, like, do you think this thing would hurt me? I'm like, yeah, I do. Well, I was listening to such and such, and well, that idiot said that it wouldn't. And I'm like, yeah, well, that person's wrong. They're absolutely wrong. And if people would stop, I've heard of this critical thinking in Bigfoot. Why don't we start really using that instead of just saying silly things like that? Why don't we start taking count of people's stories who actually talk about what these things are capable of doing? Yes, I've heard stories of them being nice. I've heard of them saving people, of them taking a log off of someone up in Canada, and another one who chased a panther away from a guy. Was seeing a black panther on the floor was pretty weird. It's in itself, but it chased it away from him.
I don't know. There's just no other situations where you treat extreme threats with caution like people would with Bigfoot. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me because let's say there's a bunch of pirates in the water, but there's just one pirate group that doesn't hurt anybody and in fact will help you. Would you still swim or sail your boat into the water hoping you run into that one group? Absolutely not.
Or like if there's like a bowl of M&Ms and there's like one like cyanide capsule or like one cyanide laced M&M in there,
Like, yeah.
are you gonna eat from that bowl?
It's the same thing. It's like
Yeah, all it
why would
takes
you
is
ever
that
take
one.
that
Yeah.
risk? And yeah, that's true that there might be decent ones that really aren't out there to harm you, but it's like I would never take that risk to find that one, and I would never like put myself in a situation where running into either one of those things is probable.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you can do, and like, let's ask the audience right now. Now, you've heard a rake story. You've heard one about Dogman. It wasn't Dogman. We've heard tons of those. I mean, it's not like you need that one story to tell you, but which creature would you rather run into of those three? You've heard plenty of stories of Dogman doing all kinds of heinous things.
All of them are such nightmares in their own right because you have such physical presence with the Dogman, where just intimidation it's just 100% a predator. Like you can't deny it that thing is just made to kill. The rake is just so bizarre. Absolutely nothing about it makes sense. It's this big skin ball that turns
It's
into
not
a
I
creature.
don't know.
I
It's
don't
like
know.
It's like some kind of
it's like
weird
a genetically
mold.
engineered abomination.
Yeah,
Because
and
like
And then they float in the water too, like the story that what's his name?
yeah,
gave
the
us.
trash bag.
Yeah.
It's just wild. And then Bigfoot are your tried and true. You hear about them all the time, so you would think they wouldn't be as bad, but until you run into a big, hairy, stinking monster that throws rocks and is
Dude, and then they try to come into your house. Like I had a guy.
intelligence is so insane about it too.
I don't want to tell this story because the guy who's going to come on my show is going to talk about it eventually, and he's a researcher, and he is Native American, and he had a horrible experience on the reservation, and it's his story, and I'm going to let him tell it the way he would, sees fit, whatever he wants to come on the show or whatever he wants to do with it. But I didn't have permission, nor did I ask to tell the story. But he was telling me this a couple months back, and he's pretty busy. Hopefully we'll connect or whatever after the conference. But a horrific thing happened. This thing, like, it tore through their trailer. I mean, he was a poor, Native American kid in a reservation. And then I got another one where some guys, were in Alabama, and they were jumping on a trampoline. This guy, he gave me this night before last. Was that at the gym? It was the night before last, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Wednesday. I mean, these things do what they do, and they mess with children. Like, they'll mess with your kids. I mean, and then I had this one, I don't want to call him a researcher because I don't really think that's what he is. He's been on TV, but he was telling one of my witnesses, oh, yeah, go out there and give it apples and stuff up there in Washington. And she's been on the show. And I wanted everything in me wanted to scream and cuss this guy out and call him up and be like, dude, don't tell a witness that their grandchildren should be perfectly safe playing by a creek where these things are. Whether you believe they're flesh and blood or you believe they're interdimensional, it doesn't matter what you believe. They could believe that they're aliens from the planet Zorkon. It doesn't matter. Look at that thing, okay? It's obviously predatorial. Why would you let your child play around that thing? I mean, that is the stupidest thing. I can't imagine what goes through these people's minds. If anything, if there's rocks rolling around your head. Like those Washington and Gala. Actually, for me personally, I'm partial to the Honey Crisp. I have a thing for those. Those are my favorite apples. Golden Delicious, those are good too.
Red Delicious, terrible.
Shade Viking. Yeah, I prefer Force Zarkon. That sounds a little better.
Oh, well, here's another scenario. Any cryptid or a poltergeist, a demon or something where you can't see what it is and it's just attacking you in your house.
You're like not on camera.
Or just like where you sometimes see a cryptid, just around in your property. Which one would you rather have? One where you see something or one where you don't see something but both affect you?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I'd rather see it, so at least I know, like, when it's around.
Like, know what it is, yeah. But then it's like, would you rather see a Dogman hanging around outside your windows looking in at you? Or would you just rather have, like, weird things, like if a bug just flew in front of you, you'd be like, oh, dang ghosts, and then you just put the bug back.
If it's just a poltergeist, I'll take that.
I think you could survive that better. Just seeing the Dogman, I mean, you would be paralyzed and you just have to deal with that all the time.
Well, what about some of the haunting stories, though, that we get? And then, like the guy that went out to smoke the cigarette. That was in Mississippi. Like, he went outside and a Bigfoot was, like, right there in his yard on the deck. Or he was on the deck. But it started to make its way up the deck. I don't know if I've told you this one. I'm sure you guys probably, but there was a guy who was having all kinds of stuff happening, and he was going through sleep paralysis in his bedroom. And he was going through all kinds of crazy stuff. And then he wakes up, sees a full-bodied apparition in his. Before he moved into this house, he never saw anything. Nothing. This guy's 42 years old. Well, now he's like in his mid to late 40s, but he was 42 when this happened. So he goes outside to smoke a cigarette, calm his nerves. He's, dude, I didn't even smoke cigarettes. My wife smoked for years. He started smoking cigarettes because of the nerves. So he goes outside, and there's a Bigfoot out there. Wasn't the first time he'd seen it, but it was prowling around his property out in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi. I think it was outside of Vicksburg or something. I have to go back and look, but can you imagine that? Like, you try to get out of your house. Your wife's on a business trip, and then, you talk to her for a couple hours. Something moves on the bookshelf, and you're like, what is that? And I remember he says he hung up with his wife. Next thing you know, the door is like opening, and he's like, what the heck? Why is my door opening? What's going on here? And then he's like, dude, he goes, not going to lie, I was on some medication to go to sleep. So I took some, to go to sleep. He's like, I wake up a couple hours later, and I see what looks like a man standing in the corner of the room. He's like, I sit up and I'm like, dude, you know, and then it was gone. He's like, so I'm sitting here and I'm holding a weapon, you know, a firearm. He's like, so I go outside. I stood there smoking a cigarette, trying to calm myself down. And he sees this Bigfoot-looking creature just come walking up into his yard and coming up like going to the edge of the deck, like straight at him. And he's like, what am I going to do? He's like, I pointed the pistol in his direction and it stopped, like a physical creature would. But that right there is an example of like, why was the Bigfoot around his property? Now, I have theories about this. It's just like sometimes you guys know about the power plants, like the guys out at LaGrange, the power plant.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that, where one saw a Bigfoot, one saw a Dogman at different times. Why do people see these creatures, especially these flying humanoids, near power plants? Why are these seen near hauntings? Now, I talked to somebody recently, and him and his wife are, I don't want to call them Ghostbusters. That sounds goofy. Like, they're not demonologists. What do you call them? They're not exorcists, but they go and they deal with people who have infestations, kind of like Rick and Bobby Epstein.
Like parapsychologists, or
Yeah, kind of. But I mean, I forgot what they're called.
Paranormal
like ghost
investigators?
hunters? Paranormal investigators, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they go and they're like paranormal investigators, but they went to this haunting, and the guy reached out to me. I don't know what he's going to do with this story. I'm not going to step on his toes or anything. It's his deal, but I'll just give you like a quick rundown. Like, how I got involved was because he called me up and he said, "Hey, Wolf, I've known this guy for about 5 years," and he said, what do you think of this? This was a haunting that was going on up in right outside of Milwaukee, in Wisconsin. And he said, dude, I mean, it was like there was everything there. It was out in the countryside, in the country, near the border. And he's like, dude, it was like these people had seen orbs. They had seen a werewolf-looking creature. And I'll say it was kind of a stretch to say it was werewolf-looking because it had like straight legs. It was more like a gugwee. It was like they saw these Bigfoot-looking creatures, but they saw one that had like a short snout that looked distinctly different than the other ones, and the ears were lower on the head. So it didn't strike me as like a Dogman type creature. But when they started describing these things, and then they described like this thing on the roof, which can only be described as alien-like and not a rake, because it was blue. Now, you would think that one story, if us having the full, that's what's so great about what we do is like you got the full spectrum. Like if somebody tells you, the audience, like say, I don't know what you've seen. Let's just pick somebody from the chat. Barry, I don't know what you've seen, Barry. Say you've only had one kind of encounter. So if somebody comes out and says, dude, I saw something crawl out of which we have, somebody said this to us, and Armando and me talked about this, something crawled out of a pond in Florida that looked reptilian-like, and it literally engaged a Dogman type creature. I talked about this years ago. And we were going to revisit that with Armando right before he retired from working on this stuff. But it's crazy, like, okay, you got somebody who tells you that story, you're going to be like, oh, God, this person's imagination runs away, it's running away. But if you're us, or me, or us, you hear these stories, and you hear them over and over again with the same kind of, and they're like, well, this is crazy. I'm going to tell you this. And a lot of times whenever these investigators, these paranormal investigators, they don't know what to do with this stuff because they don't know the cryptid aspect of it. So then they come to me or they come to us and they're like, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about that? And I'm like, we've heard this 100 times. Why, though, are people not willing to put it all together? See, that's where I get this. Did y'all hear that?
I didn't hear it.
I heard him tapping.
I know, I heard something in there.
Well, I think what it is personal experience. I think a lot of people are blinded by their own personal experience. So, like, they feel like what they go through is the be-all, by-all. It's like, that's not how it works. What you experience is unique to you, and every encounter, I think, like that's one thing that we have to emphasize, that every encounter that people have is unique to them. There might be similarities between some of these different things, but until you're able to 100% identify what these creatures are, it's all a new creature until you're like really recognizing what it is. So that's why when you hear some of these stories where it's like, oh, it looks exactly like a Dogman, except maybe a little bit more like a bear, people would be like, oh, maybe it was probably just a Dogman. But like us, we hear so many stories that we could be like, was like, why did it seem like a bear? That sounds like a bear man to us. So like that we're able to get that perspective because we hear so many different stories that we kind of do look at things as like, oh, this is entirely a new creature. And if people would look at things more like that, they would be able to take their own personal experience out of it and come to the same conclusion. Some of these things aren't nice. Some of these things aren't all the same. They have different aspects. Some of these
Different
things
attributes.
are attributes. Some of these things are physical. Some of these things are spiritual. So like,
Or they can manifest as
or they're
physical.
both. Like it's entirely different. So like,
Yeah, details matter. I mean, like not just what was seen, but where it was seen, when it was seen, the details of the person's personal life,
like what other
of like what
experiences? Yeah.
yeah, like their own lifestyle sometimes can affect what it is that it is drawn to them.
If they're playing with Ouija board stuff, like all this stuff, like kind of adds a new aspect that turns
It's
stories
definitely not
completely
one
unique.
size fits all.
Yeah, so like I that's the issue. I think like people hear like Dogman, and when they hear the characteristics that like a Dogman's supposed to have, so then they take that and compare it with their own, either their own encounters or all the encounters they hear. So then it becomes like a cemented thing where it's like, okay, this is what the requirements for a Dogman are, but people are forgetting that like we have no idea what a Dogman is. So like there are no requirements to be a
Yeah.
Dogman. There's no requirements to be
That
any
always
of it.
cracks me up when they try to there's like 7 different types of Dogman. Bull crap. There's about 30. You don't know. I mean, and there's these little devil monkey looking things. If you were to sit back and field the reports, and one of the reasons why we get so many is because people know that if they bring me the report, then I'm going to tell it. You know, and if I talk to the person, I think they're credible. I'm not going to, I mean, it's you like, I just hate using that term over and over again, but it's the rabbit hole, Charlie Budden. Yeah. When you start looking at these creatures and you look at it lockstep with the UFO with the alien abduction, UFO/alien abduction phenomena. Like me and Barton, we tried to do Bigfoot and we ended up with all this alien abduction. You end up with all these ghosts. You end up with all this stuff. And that's how the book came about. It was like, I can't just write a book. If it's going to be called the Bigfoot phenomena, it needs to involve the Bigfoot phenomena. And it's not just about seeing giant apes running around in the woods, because that's not all what people are seeing. They will lie and tell you, a lot of these researchers will tell you, that's a very small percentage of what people see. According to who? Oh, it's a study I read. According to a study you made up? Because I could make up an award show, and Tony, hand me this right here. Oh, thank you, Tony. On behalf of my audience, I would like to tell everybody how appreciative I am to have this vampire steak or whatever the hell it is. Thank you. I won. I am the best podcaster in the universe, and that award cements it.
I love me.
I love me some me. All right? You know what I mean? There it is. That's a flex right there, folks. You see that? This is the award. I am now an award-winning podcaster. I am the shogun of the paranormal. And according to an award show that me and Tony and Anthony just made up, second place was, let's see, what are the 5 best podcasters of all time? Wolf, me, Josh Turner, Mr. Turner, and Lobo. Oh, wait, those are all my names. Well, I guess I'm the best podcaster that's ever lived.
The top 3 are definitely me, myself, and I.
Yeah. And then way back, way back, far back in second place is whoever the hell else is out there. I don't care. It's really just about me. So according to a study I just made up, and according to a award that I just gave myself, I say that most reports are of the supernatural. I mean, that's how ridiculous it is, dude. So they go and they do a study and they cherry pick, and they said, "Oh, we talked to 1,000 people and we made sure that we picked 1,000 people who had physical encounters, and we threw out everything that wasn't physical. So 92% of all encounters are blah blah blah." Thank you, Loki. Appreciate it. Yeah, I've been working really hard to get this award. I'll have a plaque up here next week. You think I'm bull crapping? I'm going to put it right behind me. Award-winning podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But who gave you the award?
And the best part is like you really don't even have to write a
I
dissertation,
vet myself.
a paper. You just have to write a paragraph. With most of these sites, it's just all ads and like a paragraph. So that's all you need,
Just write a golden book.
pretty much.
DRC, PRT, Dylon. Look, it's as simple as that. Like I could do an independent study and then I could go, let me pick all the people that believe like me. Let me leave out everybody else that doesn't believe like me. And then there you go.
Let's not question any of their experiences and just ask people who had experiences.
Yeah.
Like there's
Just real quick, I got to highlight this comment because it's so creepy. I think your name is Ania. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. She said, in high school, my friend's Victorian porcelain dolls would walk around us while we were sleeping.
Yeah. My friend, when we were kids, and I can't verify this at all.
yeah,
But
I don't.
okay, well, I was talking, but
My bad,
anyway,
I thought you were done.
go ahead, dude. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say I just never had friends with porcelain dolls. I mean,
Well, my aunt had a
Around with
room.
girls. Yeah, she had a clown room, right?
Yeah, like my aunt had this guest bedroom, and she had like these little porcelain clown dolls as decorations, and then like the wallpaper trimming was like clowns, and then like from the ceiling, she had like these clowns that were hanging from the ceiling, and they were like they were holding on to like balloons, so like they were like it was all clown decorated everywhere, and I slept in that room as a kid because I wasn't afraid of clowns. But looking
Yeah.
back on it, this is
I'm
weird.
terrified of. I was terrified of clowns when I was young.
I remember you being scared of clowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, dolls creep me out too, Mickey.
Mhm.
Let me tell you something. Oh, and Samantha, I want to congratulate you and thank you for being a $40 tier. Thank you for that. That's awesome. The thing is, if you step back and you look at these things and you be objective and you don't throw out people's stories because they don't agree with you, okay? I tell both sides. Like the one with the Dogman, that thing was tranquilized. Obviously, that was a physical creature. I mean, it had to be. I mean, to be able to be tranquilized.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the late Linda Godfrey said, do they become more physical the longer they're in our terrain, on our turf? How does that work?
It's just like it entirely depends on what their makeup is. It's like if they're an outside creature, outside being, forcing themselves into a spiritual body, then it would make sense why they would have like these kind of supernatural aspects as they're getting used to their spiritual body.
Mm-hmm.
The more they're on earth and the more used they are to their body, the less of those abilities they would have, and it would be more physical. So it just kind of like depends on like what we're really dealing with, and that's why you can't deal with any of these situations, any encounter you have as like, oh, let me kind of throw in these keywords that kind of lead it down a path because that path is the path I'm searching for because that path is the one that everybody recognizes as Dogman. Instead, it should be any of these paths can be Dogman, and your story, no matter what path it goes down to, we'll be able to figure it out based on what your story is, not based on what kind of criteria is needed for this creature to be classified as one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not here to try to destroy the narrative of any of these things
No.
or to change the narrative, whatever. I'm just trying to get it to where
People are more open-minded.
people are more accepting and understanding that not everybody's story is going to fit into the category that you want it to be. The paradigm is whatever it is. It's not what you want it to be. It's not what you make it. people can get together and sort of form one. If we work together, and I was talking to these people, the ghost researchers. I'm going to get them back on the show. They were on the show. These people were on the show a while back, and now this guy, I was talking to him. I want to get him on. I'm trying to remember the name of their. Dang it! They just posted something the other day. I'm in their group anyway. Cornerstone. I think it's Cornerstone. They do a lot of ghost investigations and things like that. And if you go to our Paranormal Roundtable group, that for some reason Facebook, which I hate, doesn't want to allow us to get to 9,000. We're at 8,900 and have been for whatever. I don't know how that is when you approve like 50 something people and it still doesn't move. I don't get that, but whatever. It's their math that they do. Their what's it called? Common Core math. So we have a Paranormal Roundtable Facebook group, and if you go there, there's tons of ghost stories and all kinds of stuff, and there's advertisements for everybody else's channels and stuff like that. And like I said, I've caught flack from people, not in a bad way, but they're just like, why would you promote these other people's channels? Like, why not? I mean, their channels are just as good to go listen to as anybody else's. What's the big deal? I don't really understand this whole like turf stuff. Like, this is mine, like.
Yeah, it felt weird when we were starting out.
Man, let them have theirs, and you have yours. And if theirs is better than yours, then they deserve the.
I remember. I know you remember, Wolf. When we would start out, we were posting all our channels in the groups, and we got kicked out of some of the groups because we were posting our stuff, and we're like, "What are you talking about? Why can't we promote? Everybody should be able to promote because it makes people like more interested in the subject." But it just felt like lack of forethought, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't mind anybody, like people will come to me and be like, yeah, I was listening to this other channel and they said this and they said that, and I'm interested, I'm curious, I'm like, really? And I'll go check it out. If I have the time, I'll go check it out. Believe me, that's the whole point. If somebody offered me suitcases of money to go sit in a building, I don't know if I could do it for a month, but I could do it for a couple days probably, just so I could relax, retire, and just sit back and watch other people's work, and read books. I like to read. I'm able to read as much as I'd like because I've been doing the books, but there's a lot of things I'd like to do. I would sit there and veg out on this stuff if I could because it's very interesting to me. And I do get, if I have free time, I get to talk to a lot of really cool people in this field. Check out Albert Rosales' books. Really check out some of those encounters that he's put together in those books and read Inhumanoids. It's really interesting. I like Lyle's book, The Swamp. What's it called? The Lizard Man. That one's really intriguing. If you go back and David Weatherly, dude, all of his books of the different states. Oh my gosh, dude. Like, man, I was reading another one the other day. I was sitting in my office and I was supposed to be paying bills. Next thing you know, I'm reading David's book. I'm like 2 chapters in. I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? I mean, there's so much information out there, folks. Don't deprive yourself. I mean, or whatever. There's people who've told me like, oh yeah, I was listening to such and such, and because me and that person had a tiff at one point, and I know, who I'm talking about. It's a very large Dogman channel. I'm like, dude, that doesn't mean that there's nothing good on there. Just because I personally, me and that guy aren't like friends.
I mean,
I don't like the way he does things, but that doesn't mean that his channel doesn't have like some merit to it. I mean, there's been people that have come to us with their story that they couldn't tell the whole story on his channel, or they told their story on his channel and they told it on mine. It's not like Matt. Matt and me are very good friends now. I do try to go above and beyond though, because when I let someone tell their story or I tell their story, I try to go deep. We go real deep. I mean, and we try to get into it and talk about all the different aspects of it. Back to this hunting thing, like this guy in Mississippi, right? So if you look at this guy and his story, he sees a Bigfoot, right? This was the second time he'd seen it, but the first time he'd seen it right after having an encounter with some sort of specter in his bedroom. And then he asked me a question. He says, his name is Lance. And Lance asked me a question, and if you're out there listening, hey, we'll eventually get into his whole story. It's going to be on the podcast more than likely, like an entire hour's worth of work, maybe a couple. But what he asked me, he says, what is going on here? And why would I see what looks like a Bigfoot, like during a haunting? Why did we see this blue-looking creature on the roof? I mean, or his wife did. I said, first of all, don't believe anything she says. She's crazy. Okay, I'm joking. I did not say that. What I told him, though, he's like, have you ever heard of anything like this? I said, obviously, sir, you don't listen to my show.
You must not know who you're talking to.
And then I had to tell him I'm an award-winning podcaster in the future. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, next week I'm going to be giving myself an award. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. And I told him, I said, look, here's what's going on. I have no idea. But I'll pose a theory. These things are attracted to the energy that hauntings put out into the ether. Maybe it's like blood in the water to sharks. Or maybe they're just part of it. You know, maybe it's just part of it. I don't know. Was something imitating a Bigfoot? I mean, I want to explore, and that's what I do here on this show, on this channel. It's to explore all of this.
Postulate. I mean,
postulating, yeah.
That's all we do. Theorize, postulate, hypothesize. I mean, it's pretty much our MO, where we hear your stories and we give our thoughts, no matter which direction they'll go in. It may not make sense, and most of the time we barely believe it ourselves. But just throwing out those thoughts furthers the development of, finding out what these things are. For instance, that story, it could be, like you said, blood in the water, where like, oh, there's fear in the area. We feed on fear. We'll just congregate there. Or it could just be that one thing happens and that energy is enough to start popping some other things out. And they're like, that portal's open. Let's just go and enter that portal. I mean, who really knows what's going on and why there's so many accounts of like multiple encounters of different things happening at the same time. I mean, some things you expect. If you play with the Ouija board, you expect kind of to
you're gonna
play
get
with
what
ghosts.
you get.
You might even be expecting like Dogman or even Bigfoot, because we've heard those stories before. But aliens, then Bigfoot, then some big rake. I mean, like there's some really weird stories we've gotten where it just goes all over the place, where it's like there's no real connection between these cryptids or even ghosts, and we don't have any explanation about why they're in the same area. It could just be coincidence too. I mean, I don't believe in coincidence.
Well, yeah, let's expound about what you said. Like you're talking about the devil's backbone. Like let's just say a devil's backbone. Like you get stories of these Confederate soldiers that they look out of time and place. You know, and me and David Weatherly, we talked about that on his birthday. It was at my house. It was pretty cool. We were hanging out, and he celebrated his birthday at my house. And here we're talking about these Confederate soldiers. They just almost get hit by a car, stumble out into the road. Then about 2 miles from there, you got somebody who saw a rake crawling across the road or, doing whatever it did. Then you get stories out of the haunted valley of Comanches and Spaniards and, conquistadors, all kinds of weird stuff.
You got Native Americans.
Native Americans, yeah. And then on top of that, you get alien UFO reports out the yin-yang out there. And he's, David said it, and you guys were there, and he said, he would compare it, he would put it up to any other hot spot like Skinwalker Ranch, But there again, Skinwalker Ranch is a prime example. Like, look at what's going on. Like, I mean, at Skinwalker Ranch, you had reptilian, Dogman, Bigfoot, UFOs. You saw people, you had people that were seeing alternate realities through like circles in the sky. Like these nexus, these vortexes or something, every kind of weird thing you can imagine is coming and going from these hot spots. But then you talk to these witnesses, and the guy says, this guy, he wanted my Bigfoot story. I told him the Bigfoot story. I told him that I saw a Bigfoot come up onto my patio, up to my deck. And he says, do you want, and Lance asked the guy, he's like, do you want to hear, the guy's like, no, that's all I want. So you're probably going to hear his story on somebody's channel, and that's it. That's all he wanted was that.
And it's literally like a quarter of the story.
That's not even a tenth.
Yeah, it's like the smallest amount. I mean, it's not even his main encounter. I mean, I would say that waking up and all the ghost stuff was probably his main encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And then his wife would probably be that little blue alien thing. And it's just
Yeah.
like that Bigfoot was just like there. And then like that's what people would focus in on because I don't know, like it feels like it draws in more views or it fits better. So
Or like there's this mentality that they want to be taken seriously, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but it's like
You're already talking about Bigfoot, dude.
yeah, like you're
hello.
gonna be labeled that no matter what, so you might as well just be truthful.
It's like I said about Jeff Meldrum. Like you look at Jeff as an example. He's done a lot as an academic to bring Bigfoot to the forefront and make it to where it's not a laughable subject. But then at some point, and I'll say this publicly, I think Jeff needs to take a step back and say, hey, you know, dial it back some. But with this whole, it's all just a physical creature because a man of science depends on, well, then again, it depends on what science. It's like a lawyer. You don't go and get a real estate attorney to be your, after you get into a fight with someone and you're defending yourself in a court of law, you don't go get a real estate attorney. You know, same thing with a scientist. You don't get a biologist and tell them to go and
build
split
rockets.
atoms,
Yeah.
and build rockets. I think some of these academics need to take a step back and they need to look at this and go, what is it that's going on? Now, if you just sit back and you look at it as Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature, okay. Are you going to ignore every other aspect of this Bigfoot phenomenon? Is the paranormal aspect, which Bigfoot in of itself, it's silly to say paranormal because Bigfoot is paranormal. It's not of the norm. It's not normal. DRC, yeah, maybe. But if you sit back and you go, hey, okay, we're dealing with something that's not just a flesh and blood giant ape running around out there. There could be more to this. And by the laws just of physics alone, the things that they do defy that. They do things that are of a spiritual nature. But we know that there are other dimensions. I mean, we know now there's string theory. There's all kinds of things that could be going on here. It's almost impossible to separate them from that. Now, it's nice and pretty and cute to just sit back and go, well, we're just dealing with an undiscovered species, and eventually someday it'll be discovered. When? Okay? Because it's been 60 years of nothing. Nothing. Blobs of photos of blobs, right? Like, where is the evidence, dude? Okay, I'm getting really tired of waiting for it because you don't have it, and I don't think you ever will.
Like how advanced do we need to be to find a Bigfoot?
We have satellite imaging. They can see a gnat land on somebody's nose, on Osama bin Laden's nose, but you couldn't, you know. I mean, but you're going to tell me you can't find Bigfoot who's 9 foot tall running around the hello.
It's not like he's in the water.
Yeah.
He's on land. It's literally, come on.
Well, they go in the water, but, you know, I'm getting really tired of that. So when you sit there and you start to think like, okay, and then people, they roll their eyes as one group, and it wasn't me because I don't even want to say anything now. I get attacked. But this is a girl, she said something in the group, and she said, well, what about the Nephilim? Oh, you go with the Nephilim again, right? Don't you know this is a giant ape running around out there? And then if you go to one of these just the Bigfoot conferences, and I don't want to start anything and step on anybody's toes, but if you just, the people at the conferences are getting older and older. It's like there's this old guard that's there, and they're stuck in that mode of like, because one of them saw something on the side of the road. Like, those are not the reports I'm concerned with. I'm concerned with the I'd say thousands of other reports that get ignored because they involve the woo. Woo. They hate that. They hate it. And there's one guy who's very prominent in the Bigfoot community. He messages me and tells me he wants me to send him my Bigfoot report. I think he's being snarky or something. I don't know if I've told this on the show. And I told him I didn't have a Bigfoot report, Mr. M. And he says, well, go ahead and send it to. I said, dude, stop with the bull crap, okay? He says, Dogman doesn't exist. Doesn't exist? I saw it. Okay. I haven't seen a bunch of them. You know, I haven't like had a bunch of big, Dogman encounters. Me and my wife, we think we had a Bigfoot encounter. I think I've had some close calls with them. She saw it like way better than I did. I didn't get as good a look at it. So I don't go around claiming it. Just like I don't go around claiming that I'm walking around boots on the ground just because I go to people's places out in the country and go walk around where they've seen Dogman. That doesn't make me boots on the ground. Right? I'll tell you this. I don't believe for a second that all we are dealing with is some giant wolf-like creature that's that way all the time, or that there's a Bigfoot running around out there, because if it was, we would already have some proof. Now, doesn't mean that they can't come from the inner earth. There could be species down there of all kinds of things that we don't know. We don't understand. Some are more primitive than us. Some are more advanced. And somebody asked me this question, and this is very strange. They had a Bigfoot on their property, right? This was up in, not Washington, Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia. She said for several years, they had a Bigfoot that would come. And they would, I don't agree with this part. I do not agree with this part, and I would never do this, and I won't tell you to do this. She said, we used to give it apples. I met her in one of the Bigfoot groups, her and her late husband, and he's passed away now. But she said, we gave it apples. We gave it strawberries. We gave it watermelons, all these delicious fruits and things, whatever. And I said, well, that's not smart. Habituating this thing. She said, then one day I was walking through the woods. She says, I see it. It was a male. This is what she said. She said it was leaned up on a tree and there was something wrong, like it couldn't move its arm, like it was messed up. It had never communicated with her before, but it had communicated with her husband. And it communicated with her through telepathy, mind speak, whatever. And tells her, according to this woman, okay, her name is Sue, but according to her, she said, this thing talked to me and it says, I'm dying. And by this time, I'll be dead by tomorrow. And so she's like, oh, is there anything I could do? She said, he says, no, nothing you can do. Like, he's like, my people will come and get me. And she's like, why have we never seen any of the others? She said, because I was an outcast. I was cast out long ago. So it basically lived on the fringes of human civilization. It was cast out by another alpha, according to this woman, what she says. I don't mean it in a snarky way, this woman, like she's crazy or anything like that. I don't, her story is as believable as anybody's. She says she turns around and goes back inside. She had never gotten that close to it. She'd never been that close to it. She wasn't like petting it like it was a pet or anything like that. She believed it was like a wild species, whatever. But this thing talked. She went back inside. She brought water. She set it down. She took off. Next day, it was gone. Here's where it gets, what's up? I thought you were raising your hand. Here's where it gets a little more fascinating. A couple weeks go by. She hears, they're sitting in the den, her and her husband. Their oldest son is there with his wife and a couple grandkids running around. And she's like, and they're watching a movie. She's like, did you hear that? And he's like, I didn't hear anything. Mutes the TV. Now the grandkids and their children and the grandkids don't know about the Bigfoot habituation. She hears, what is this? Walks out. She looks out there and she sees a wispy image of a Bigfoot standing there, and she looks, and they never named it or anything like that. She's like, we were never that close to it, like where we were like, oh, it's, hairy, whatever. She says she looks, and it just says something to her, and it just very calmly walks away. It says, "Thank you," walks away. And she said, as it turned the corner, it just was like it dissolved. It was just like it was woof. It was gone, like a ghost. Now the question is, if this story is to be believed, which I don't have any reason to doubt her, but I'm not like sitting up here naively going, "Oh wow, I can imagine what that." I don't know what to think. I'm not gonna chastise her. I don't know. But what was that? Was that the ghost of the Bigfoot?
I mean, all signs would account and point to that.
Right? And why for years did it never speak? And never said thank you for any of the food? I mean, why now, after it died, would it just come back and knock on the glass and say, hey? Now, here's what's even weirder. Go ahead.
Just to answer that question, because the only thing I could think of is it being an outcast, like them showing him kindness would probably mean a lot to him as it died. I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. Is it like I have been abandoned by my people because a superior has kicked me out. So now these people who aren't of mine still would feed me and treat me with kindness. Like they weren't so close to where like you said they were naming him or anything, but still they treated me with kindness and they weren't like afraid of me or anything like that. And they just didn't mess with me, didn't try to take pictures of me, didn't try to capture me or anything like that. I was just around. So like I would appreciate that on my death. That would be understandable, I feel like. And I feel like I guess whatever rules it has about speaking in whatever, like if they do have them, it wouldn't really matter if you're gonna die. Who really cares what rules you break at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Loki said, I've eaten so many of your friends and you still showed me love.
I mean, her daughter though, or their youngest daughter was away at college. She comes back to visit. She's there. It's the beginning of summer. She's pulling into the driveway, and when she starts honking the horn, and she's just freaking out. Dad comes out, and she's like, "I just saw a Bigfoot." Like she's like, the way a Bigfoot looks. That's what I just saw. She couldn't even say the words. She was just such in shock. She couldn't even utter what she saw. Dad says, "Come inside. Everything's fine. Whatever." They sit her down. She's freaking out. The mother tells her, this is what's been going on. This creature's been around our house for a long time. The daughter says, I saw Bigfoot turn invisible. Right in the driveway, like up against the house, on the side of the house. And then they tell her, yeah, we had a Bigfoot that used to come up here and we think that it died. So now it's a spirit. I mean, what is that? The daughter saw it. The daughter had never seen it before. So when these things pass, do they just have a really strong soul that can be seen, or can they continue to do what they do? I mean, what are we dealing with? Or is it like some of these that are completely flesh and blood? Like they're not dead. They're the undead ones, like they haven't died, or maybe they did. And because sometimes you see ghosts that look like people.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like that was the question I think that when we were first discussing this whole flesh and blood versus spiritual aspect is that, I think that's one of the first questions I asked is that if there are Dogman and there are Bigfoot that are physical 100% and you believe in ghosts, what happens when a Dogman or a Bigfoot dies? Does it become a ghost? And it's like why wouldn't it? Like if you believe in ghosts, then these things should be spiritual because when they die, there should be a chance for them to become a ghost, just like how there's a chance for humans and animals to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So I mean that's the only thing I can think of like that. That's what, or not the only thing. That's what it reminded me of Is like that's exactly what we asked. That's the first couple things that we were talking about when we discussed this kind of thing, and I think that proves it right there. It's like there's more to this than we know. Like even in when we know them to be supernatural and spiritual, like we've heard plenty of stories about it. We get a story like this where a Bigfoot dies, and then it becomes what in every right should be called a ghost. You know, it just adds more questions.
Yeah, Mark Koenig says, "Do you ever get stories of these things preying on each other?" Do we?
Well, I think we're about to bring out a show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We get stories about that.
We had a whole show where we did where I'm excited about that one. One thing I want to say about like people being unopen or like being kind of closed-minded about stuff is that, you know, I think the problem is that everybody wants to be right. You know, they want to be the one that's correct. But like, you know, a good example that I brought up back in the day is that the guy who created the idea of washing your hands so that you don't get diseases and you don't get sick, he was put in a mental hospital. So like it doesn't matter if you're right, or it doesn't matter if you're correct and if you're perceived as correct. What matters is furthering, you know, science in a way that you figure out the truth. You know, he was wrong in his time, but now we all know that if you wash your hands, you're not going to get sick because there's not crap on your hands.
Yeah, nothing worse than going into a restaurant and you see the cook coming out with his apron and just walking back into the kitchen. It happened to me.
Yeah, dry hands and he's wiping it. And
not even washing his hands. And you're like, dude, you got to be kidding me, man. Then I had to leave. Oh, look at that number. Oh, gosh.
Oh, not again.
Yeah. I saw that number earlier today, too.
It's got an update. There's actually 671, but there's like a delay between when that updates and when YouTube updates.
Somebody said something.
YouTube just chooses that number.
Why does it always just stick on there, though?
Yeah, I was going to say YouTube chooses that number.
Choosing it. Okay, YouTube, tube of you, we get what you're doing.
Chihuahuas are meaner than, you're right, Phil. Chihuahuas are meaner than Dogman.
Well, Phil's got a little chihuahua like yours. And I think Chris made fun of Chris made fun of it the other day.
Yeah, we're lucky Chihuahuas are small.
Yeah, they're brave little bastards.
I think Matt said something here. I'm trying to find his comment, dude.
It's that scorpion.
Says, we are dealing with creatures from another level of existence that are so far above humans we cannot even fathom what they are possibly capable of. Folks, that's probably it.
I mean, that could be simply what it is. I mean,
you know, and like I said, we're not going to get all the answers. I'm going to tell you another story on Sunday if time permits. You know, depends on my guest. I don't know him super well. Kirk Reed was supposed to be my guest tonight, and poor Kirk had something bad happen to him. He has a lot of stories. He has a really a super creepy story about a gnome that attacked him and his friends when they were children. You got to get him on to talk about that. But my guest will be on Sunday. I'll talk to him, and I'll know how much I have to talk or how much I don't have to talk. And maybe I'll tell you the reptilian story. I got that. I got a Goatman story. I got two other really crazy Dogman stories to tell. And then I have maybe three other Bigfoot stories. Folks, we're going to do this. We're going to keep doing this. And then I got a rake with antlers. Now that's another intriguing thing. Is that a Wendigo? When it puts on antlers, does it become a Wendigo?
That's what you would think, right?
It's I'm a rake. Wait, nah, I'm a Wendigo. I don't know, folks. You know, but I do want to thank everybody who voted for me to accept this award. I'm going to say there were at least 7 people. That's how many people are on my team. I'm pretty sure they would vote for me too, including myself.
We cast the voting psychically, so that we gathered the thoughts. We read people's minds, and you cast
the hive mentality.
You cast your mental ballots, and that's how we know who won.
Yeah, and me and Anthony are also sharing Best Co-Host Award right here.
Yeah.
It looks like a box of Altoids with a St. Benedict.
Do the Price is Right girl thing right here.
But I think it's actually the second place award for the best supporting co-hosts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so number one, then you'd be guys.
Mhm.
Which one of y'all? It's for both y'all together.
It's both of us because
We're 0.5
it's
each one of us. So like yeah.
0.5 children.
Yeah.
There's 2.5 children per family in Arizona. Like,
I'm Cull, he's
Yeah.
R, and we're the commentators.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Call and learn. Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. So you see, we've now we not only are we experts, but we've now won
Multiple award winning.
multiple awards. Now, let me go ahead and show you guys. You can see this because the camera was kind of. This is the award that they won. There it is. It's pretty amazing, and I'm so glad that we voted for ourselves. And thanks to a study that we made up,
We had 50 million Indians vote for us too. We sent the poll over
the bots
there. Yeah.
from India, and they were like, "Sure, no problem, just pay us," like whatever.
Yeah, the Indians and the Chinese are big fans of us.
Yeah,
At least their bots are.
and then I got all my other friends that I'm going to get to talk about it and vote or whatever. I don't know if you guys saw Tank Abbott talk about my birthday. I'll just tell him, "Hey, Tank, tell people that we won this." Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I would play that video for y'all, but
He cusses on
yeah,
there, so don't do
it's got some foul language
I wanna
because it's Tank Abbott. So
point out a subscriber I haven't seen in a while. P-Head Inc.
P-Head's
Oh, he's
here.
back.
P-Head.
Yeah,
she,
man.
they,
I
Shim.
remember seeing them on the Armando days, so it's nice seeing you again, man.
Yeah. So anyway, P-Head, you just showed up. We just won an award, so now we are an award-winning podcast. So I am now changing my handle to Shogun. I am now the Shogun of the paranormal, and you will address me as such, P-Head.
We have
Along
the
with
Shogun,
everyone else.
King of the Noodle, and then we have Ferret King over here.
86
Oh, yeah.
says, best name ever. P-Head or Shogun? Which ones? You can't have both. 86. It's me, okay?
Froston says Mushu will get his award when he finishes his push-ups. Yeah, they haven't forgotten about that. There's still 160 of them left.
Yeah, what's going on with that, dude? Like, I've been sitting up here, like, wondering if that's going to happen. Now I have to wear this. Larry, I know I like your hat, but I have to wear something with a star on it, like Terrell Owens. Love me some me. You know what I'm saying? Because I just won this award, Larry. You got to understand. I'll represent, but I got to represent me because it's all about me because I just won the award. And through a study that I just made up, I also will say that most people's encounters involve spooky stuff that goes bump in the night that's scary and spooky.
Most people either have ghostesses or cryptids.
So, folks, that's it for tonight. We thank you for joining us. We did 3 hours here with you. I hope you enjoyed it. I always try to bring my A game and do the best I can. It was just kind of short notice. I wasn't planning on telling that many stories, but I went through some this past week, and I couldn't wait, man. I was like, we ought to start doing the interviews on Sunday. So throughout the week, I could get the stories and tell them on Friday. I don't know if you guys would like that, and then we could just save Sunday for the guests. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's also maybe a little bit of a chiller day and
There
maybe
it goes again.
less things happening for the guests as well. It might be easier for them to free up some time on Sunday.
Yeah, maybe Sunday would be better to. What do you guys think? I don't know if it's not a big deal, but you are a part of this show. You're what makes this show, folks. And would you like the stories on Friday? Because we can stay up later or whatever. Because we do start the show earlier, like on Sunday. Remember, we start about 7:30. We start the show 9:30 on Fridays. So I could. It's either way. I'm just gonna start doing it. Like the next 6 weeks are booked per guest. So I'm gonna just start talking to the guests and say, hey, would you like to come on Friday or would you like to come on Sunday? I don't know, but if my guest doesn't have the stories or whatever for Sunday, I can always tell some more of the stories that I've got in the chamber ready to go. But it was unfortunate with Kirk. I'd have liked to have been able to know quicker, whatever. But guy got his tooth. You can't fault him for that. I mean, there's nothing you can do, man. So
I fault him.
and plus Kurt, he was good friends with Claudia Ackley, and I did want to touch on that a little bit with him, before we got started. But
Yeah, so Hope he gets better, man, so he can be
What
back
did
on
Mike
the
Turner
show.
say? I took my glasses off.
He said, hang on. Hey, did you all check out the latest story on the news about a woman who had a possible reptilian encounter on a plane? Mike and Kirk of Abnormal Investigations just covered it on an upload a week ago.
Are you talking about the? We talked about that too. Is that the same one? The woman that was how long ago? When did it happen? Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
Miguel was talking about a story as well, but I didn't get to read it before the donation disappeared. But that also happened on the plane, so I don't know if there's maybe something new that happened.
Yeah, snakes on a plane, lizards on a plane.
Yeah, I think Miguel's comment referred to like a guy, like a Chinese guy on a plane or a guy on a plane in China.
He was talking about he was in a loop.
Yeah.
He was in a
okay.
time loop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Have you? Okay, I wondered about this before. Who's this? Adrian walking. Oh, wow! Thank you for that donation, man. I'm buying noodles, push-ups. Don't want to see that again.
Dang, that is.
Oh God!
What a.
Are you
that's
sure?
Like the
because
best...
we really want to make this guy do the push-ups. He's been sick recently with what I got, but I can do. I just went and worked out, so this guy can do push-ups. Trust me. I don't have any sympathy. But I'm just kidding. I do. He's my godson. But here's the thing.
Walking unalive. I just noticed that. His name.
If you look at, the situation with the guy on the time loop, have you noticed, like, and I was just looking into this the other day, and it was on another guy's channel, and I can't think for the life of me whose it was. God dang it. Maybe my wife can text it to me. We were watching something. Of course, I'm falling asleep because I work, folks, I work like, how many hours a day? 20? I'm constantly doing something. I can't, and when I get a little bit of peace, I know it drives my wife crazy because she'll be like, hey, let's watch this. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm tired. I'm sorry. I just, but there was something we were watching, and they were talking about how many people who are supposedly had claimed to be time travelers, and they all ended up getting put in mental institutions. And you kind of wonder. And I could do a whole thing on time traveling. I mean, we really need to make a second channel where we could just like get deep into like the science behind a lot of this stuff. It would be kind of boring in some ways, but I could literally show you like how it's possible. And if you were to look up Nikolai Kozyrev, look up Kozyrev's mirror. I mean, the Germans in World War II, and then afterwards the Russians, because they took their science, and they were all doing experiments on time travel. It's really weird. Another thing too, people don't look at this, but the Japanese were heavily involved in a lot of stuff too. You don't get as much of that because Japan wasn't as opened up as it wasn't invaded physically, like Germany was overrun, but Japan wasn't, and they were bombed, and it was what happened. But there was a lot of science that they were able to hide in different places like Kyoto and Osaka. And I was doing some research the other day, and a friend of mine, well, I guess a friend of ours, right? He's a Japanese. And he is a sword maker, but he was actually telling me a story about Japan and like how his great grandfather, and I know this guy, he's got friends who were, what do you call them? Yakuza, basically. And one of them I met years ago, and I know Loki, Scorpion, D are probably on her. I didn't see D, but I know they know who I'm talking about. And I used to jokingly call him Ryu. That's not his name. But his grandfather worked on government experiments before and during World War II. And he literally said that they were really close to figuring out how time and space worked. And it would be math, and it would be kind of boring, but I could show you. Like, I don't think it's something that 650 people are going to want to sit in a chat and look at.
P-Head Inc. says, oh no, I would live for that channel. LOL. Give me boring explanations as a historian. That's my specialty.
History and science, man, I'm telling you.
Yes, they invented the microwave.
there's a lot to a lot of these things. Like we don't. I mean, like I could sit here, but people come to hear other people's encounters, not listen to me talk and prattle on about quantum theory. So that's the issue. You would have to be like, hey, maybe that's something I could put on the Patreon. I don't know. I just don't want anything I do to have you have to pay for it. I don't mind if you have to sit through some ads. Now we do keep the ads to a minimum, do we not?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We do keep the ads to a minimum because I don't want you to. I'm not trying to make money off of your because there's a lot of people who time is money and you're spending your valuable time with us, and also I want there to be people who, they want to hear all the shows and all the episodes, and I don't really agree with these people who make you pay for their content. I understand why they do it. I don't knock them for it. I mean, I know. There's they have to make a living. Now somebody was saying the other day, they're like, oh, I don't think people should be charging for their content, and that person that said that is because they couldn't charge a nickel for theirs. But people like Dark Waters and Tony Merkel, who are friends of mine, I like those guys. They charge, and I get it. They're doing it because they're trying to make a living. That's their main way of source of income. But as long as I can, I'm going to avoid having to do that. But I want to make a channel to where people can actually go and hear what's not your cup of tea, maybe a little boring. But like Anthony did the experiment one day and showed you on the live stream how you get a right angle from a right angle. And folks, go and listen to the last episode. What did we release on Tuesday?
We released a Cryptid Potluck.
Cryptid Potluck. I haven't even listened to it, but go back and listen to that. And the one before that was Werewolves in Our Streets.
With Rick.
Yeah, and so you go back and you listen to those. Go check them out. We got another one coming up on Tuesday. And then Sunday we'll be here on Sunday.
What should we expect?
And
for
go
Tuesday?
go listen to go watch Sound of Freedom. We watched it on.
Oh yeah, it's a heck of a movie.
It's powerful.
It's very powerful.
Go check it out. I don't know how these people can be up in arms, angry about it.
You got to be
if you're upset about that, go get your head examined.
You got to be a real disgusting human.
You got to be a disgusting person
have an issue
to be
with
upset
that
about
movie.
that. About people bringing that to the forefront because what are you doing that you have a problem with that? That's really weird.
If you have an issue with the message God's kids aren't for sale, then you need to go get your head checked out, like Wolf said.
Yeah, something wrong with you. That boy ain't right.
As I was saying, though, what should they expect for Tuesday? Do you have an idea?
So this next episode I'm going to be editing is going to be the Cryptid Wars one that the two of you did.
Yes, this is one of.
Should be.
We had 3 with Rick.
No, it turned out it was 2.
I thought it was. I thought it was 2.
So then we need to get recording then because that's the last one we got left.
Is it? Yeah. Yeah. After that one, I don't think we
There's
have
a
any
bunch
more.
of them that we
in
had
the tank.
planned, but I got sick.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, so all we did was the live streams because we need to get going with a couple other people and get recorded because they've been asking me. I'm doing everything I can, folks, trying to get, what did Andrew Valdez of Dark Waters no new content? I thought I saw something new he put out the other day. He put out something. I don't know. I don't keep up. I mean, he's my friend. Tony's my friend. I don't really keep up with everybody. I think Merkel's at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot, or what's it called? I think it's Gatlinburg, because that's where Barton is tonight or tomorrow. He's going to be in Gatlinburg, and he was just kind of saying he wasn't having a good. I don't know.
I'm not excited.
I don't know. He's not excited about it, but I told him, hey, man, any exposure is good exposure. He's not one of those people that chases clout and fame. He doesn't care,
No, he's 100% content with
he just wants to do,
being in the woods with Nightmare, chasing Bigfoot.
He needs to be careful out there doing that.
Yeah.
Folks, all right, folks, that's it for tonight. Be sure and like and subscribe. We are chugging along here, dude. We just hit 24.5 on YouTube. We'll be at 25,000 in no time. And hopefully it just keeps rolling and we'll get to 30,000 and 40,000 and people can, we'll do this. We'll keep doing this. Thank you, folks, for everybody who donated. We appreciate the donations. It's all going toward the conference at this point, man. If you're a Patreon member, keep on helping with the Patreon. That is the best way to help us. Keep doing what you're doing. and you will get your stuff. We have to do some sorting out because there was a little bit of a hiccup with the shirts and all that, but we got to get the shirts out or whatever. If you have a bigger size, we have it. Okay. Would it be okay? I'm asking if we gave you one of the conference shirts from last year. Would that be a poor substitute for a paranormal roundtable? Because I know people want the gear, and you'll get it. I just gotta. There's stuff we earmarked for Patreon, and there's stuff earmarked for the conference, and we gotta get it all
sorted out
and figured out. And we love giving away stuff. We haven't been doing the book giveaways the last 3 weeks because I've been ill, and it's been hard for me to get out and do stuff. And finally, I was able to work out, and then I felt like run down the last couple of days. So I don't know if I'm ready to do that. But yeah, we're gonna get it done. Don't worry, and we'll get back on it, giving away books and doing what we got to do. We're gonna start this week. I'm gonna drop this episode, the next episode, and the Tuesday episode, all in the Paranormal Roundtable group, where you can leave a comment. Go to Paranormal Roundtable group on Facebook. Join. It's free to join, and then you just leave a comment on the YouTube link, the official link. It'll say on their official link to the show, and then you leave a comment, and you could be chosen to win a book from one of many author friends of mine. There's a lot of them.
You also have an Instagram.
Oh yes, Instagram. Josh Turner at Josh Turner 940 on Instagram.
Mine is PRT Mushu on Instagram as well.
And you?
Do you have one?
Yeah. I forgot what mine. You know what? My Instagram handle is a Mexican jumping meme.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, I forgot.
I said it so long ago. I forgot what it was for a second.
Mexican jumping meme.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was something else I was going to say too. Oh, I want to thank everybody who helped with the books. And that acknowledgement, I get it. Everybody who gave me advice, everybody who contributed their stories, everybody who helped with the interviews and all the other stuff I had to do. The book's moving along, man. It is now about to go into the final phase before it goes into print. And I will be getting a hard copy. It could be as early as tomorrow. It will be done, and I'll be getting a hard copy probably Tuesday of next week. And when that comes out, then I go over it, and if it looks good, then we mass produce it. The Dogman, the werewolves, and the Dogman phenomena. And then shortly on, coming up on the heels of that one, the only thing delaying it was the artwork. Thank you, Alec, for delaying it. God. Work for free. This is what you do to me. I'm just kidding. You're not working for free. But anyway, if that artwork gets submitted and gets to the editor, we're good to go. And then that book will be out. It'll come out. It's going to be on the heels of the other one. I think it's going to be about 2 weeks behind the Dogman werewolf Dogman phenomena. It's called the Bigfoot phenomena. And I will wait a few months, and then I will probably be started on my next adventure, depending on how these books do.
And that's another reason to go to the conference, because we're going to have those books there, and we're going to have them signed there.
Signed.
So, that's something excited to look forward to, besides everything else, like the water park.
Yeah. So, folks, and so if you want to see me in a Speedo at the water park, dude, that's great. Just come. I'm joking, folks. You will not catch me wearing that, all right? I don't believe in clothing when I go to the water park.
No.
Kidding again, folks. Joking. I'm not going to do that, all right? I will be fully clothed. In fact, I'm probably wearing a shirt because I don't want to get sunburned. Anyways, folks, check us out. The conference is fast approaching. We're a little over a month away. Next week, I got a very special friend of mine coming on the show, and this on Sunday we have a guest, and we're going to talk. We're going to do all this. It's all good. We're going to do all this. Thank you, and even my haters, thank you for watching every minute of everything I do. Like you're obsessed with me, like I'm a Kardashian. I appreciate that. Thank you for putting so much time and effort and energy into me and giving me all of the views.
My ego wouldn't be this big if it wasn't for y'all.
Yeah. If you don't got haters, you're doing something. Somebody told me the other day, I don't have anybody that hates me. I'm like, that's why no one will remember your name. All right. I'll see you folks. Good night. I love you.